me. This is a three-topic discussion pertaining to Riley Strain, Sebastian Rogers, and Megan Boswell. Let me start off with Megan Boswell. Thank you for joining me. Happy Easter to everyone. Please be safe. Let's get down to business. News 11 is the source. Megan Boswell, the Sullivan County woman accused of killing her 15-month-old daughter, Evelyn, appeared in court Thursday. Boswell and her attorney, Jean Scott, appeared before Judge James Jim Goodwin, along with First Judicial District Attorney General Barry Stavis. Boswell faces a slew of charges tied to her daughter's death, including 2 counts of felony murder. Boswell was in court for a motions hearing, one of which was a motion to sever some of her charges and try them separately from her murder charges. Judge Goodwin denied that motion. You can watch the entire court appearance on News 11 if you choose to. Among the motions discussed was a change of venue filed by Boswell's former attorney, Brad Sproles. Scott was appointed as Boswell's attorney in October of 2022 after Sproles filed a motion to withdraw, citing a deteriorating relationship between himself and Boswell. I've been over most everything in the case at this point, Scott said in court. I feel like that's where we need to start. That needs to be addressed and determined if we're going to try the case here or what's going to happen. Goodwin said a change of venue would entail handing the case over to another county's court to handle and preside over. Instead, Scott told News Channel 11, he would prefer a change of venue, which would bring in a pool of jurors from other jurisdictions, but the trial would remain in Sullivan County. So basically, they want the jury from somewhere else, but have the trial in Sullivan County. That's just crazy to me. Scott said his only concern is making sure Boswell receives a fair trial, which could prove difficult in Sullivan County due to the notoriety of her case. There's been a lot of chatter. You can read the Facebook comments Scott told News Channel 11 after the hearing. And you can see there's been a lot of people who know very little about the case who have been quick to condemn her. She must be guilty. And we want to make sure that we get people that do not have a formal opinion of the case will have an open mind. Stavis disagreed when asked about the potential for a fair jury selected locally. We believe we can get a local jury here from Sullivan County, but we'll find out and time will tell, Stavis said. Goodwin set a hearing for June 20th to rule on the motion to change the venue or veneer. Scott also brought up the process of creating jury questionnaires for the trial, which Goodwin told him was already underway. The judge has previously given out a jury questionnaire for jurors to just get an idea of their knowledge about the case and rest, Stavis said, so that will probably be explored at the next motion hearing that I anticipate. So she's going to get another court date, June 20th. We are already at the end of the month of March, so that's 2 months for this heathen. And let me say this, because you know I'm going to say something. Thank you so much for joining me. All these counties are connected. Everybody doesn't live in a bubble. Now, naturally, I've talked about many cases with people just in passing just to see what they say about a case. And a lot of people don't keep up with local news. As I told you, I talked to someone who's from Maryland. They weren't even keeping up with the bridge up there, which I thought, that's kind of interesting. You're from there, but you're not even keeping up with something that's happened that's a catastrophe, which I thought was kind of odd, but maybe he's not a news guy. Nonetheless, if you pick a county close by, excuse me, there's a hair on my face. If you choose a county close by to Sullivan County, you're still in the neck of the woods, okay? So there's still the propensity that somebody in that jury pool knows about this case. Even if you come all the way up here to Knoxville, which is 2 hours or less, people still know about Megan Boswell. It doesn't matter what people are saying on the internet. People talk in general. That's what people do. Whether they're in Sullivan County, they're in Knoxville, they're in New York, they're in California. Somebody's heard about the case, okay? And so long as they put it on the news, YouTube, national news, because this is how people find out about things, YouTube, TikTok, people all over the world will hear about a story. And they will comment if they choose to. You can't stop people from commenting. I don't think you need to change your venue, because what else are you going to do? You're going to pick a jury from somewhere else, have the trial in Sullivan County, and then what? Sequester the jury, not sequester the jury? Are you going to set up a hotel for the people to have a hotel in Sullivan County, outside of Sullivan County? Somebody's got to drive them back and forth. So see, all of that is what you're going to have to think about if you go pick a jury, let's say 2 hours away. So that means you'll have to sequester them. Because there's no way you're going to think somebody's going to drive, you know, from Knoxville all the way up there to go to court, or Chattanooga every day to try to make it to court. So that means you'd have to sequester them. You'd have to have them staying in a hotel in Sullivan County or in that general area so they could get to court on time. Too much. And that costs money. Because now you have to pay for a hotel fee. Then you got to anticipate how long it's going to take to do the trial. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the evidence. Hot but a mess. One thing I can say, I haven't heard anything about her mother, because her mother was staying in the news, you know, around this time when they were looking for the child. So where's the mother? What is she doing? Is she still with her little young boyfriend? You don't hear anything about Megan's family, the father, the brothers. You don't hear anything about them, which is probably a good thing, because these people were very chaotic people. And this is why you have a young woman on trial for murder, because she came from chaos. Her parents were chaotic, violent, fighting, abuse. So that's what she grew up in. So she was too young having a kid. She wasn't ready to have a kid. It's obvious. I think she murdered her baby so she could be with that boyfriend. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. But anywho, that's the latest on Megan Boswell. Let's get down to business. The next topic's Riley Strain, Sebastian Rogers. Let's do Sebastian number 2, everybody. Thank you for joining me. WKRN News is the source. As most of you know, the Proudfoots have not been talking to Seth. TBI has met with them. I don't think I put that in my title because I got the other 2 titles there, but that's what's as of late. I'll read you that commentary, or I'll just speak it out verbatim. As far as the TBI and deputies meeting with Sebastian's parents, starting to get confused. They have not released what the meeting was about. Don't know what it was about. Don't know what type of update information they discussed. What I'd like to know, did they meet them all in the same room? Because considering these jokers aren't talking to each other, did TBI deputies put them all in the same room and give them the information? What was the response to the information? What was the information? Did the parents speak to each other? Since they have cut Seth off, they haven't talked to him in 2 weeks or so. Mr. and Mrs. Proudfoot, did you speak to Seth? Did you say hello? Seth, did you speak to them? Or did you all ask to be spoken to privately? I'm curious. And let me tell you something. If you ask to be spoken to privately, ding, 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 that's going to send red flags to authorities. Okay, why you want to sit in here with the parent? Did the Proudfoots ask to be spoken to alone and not meet? Because you know that had to be awkward if TBI put them all in the same room. And that they probably did it deliberately, watching social media, watching the news. They've heard that they're not speaking, not talking. They've heard Seth on his news broadcast saying, I haven't talked to them. They probably did it deliberately. Okay, let's see where this goes. Let's put them all in the same room and let's watch their demeanor. Okay. And naturally, they're going to think, well, you called us down here for something. What is it that you have to tell us? So let's just say they're using that as a ruse to try to see how they behave. They still have to have something to tell these parents as to cover up why, you know, if they just want to watch their behavior in the same room. As my mother used to say growing up, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So who's going to tell us what happened in that meeting? The Proudfoots, are you going to go to social media and tell us what happened in that meeting? Mr. Seth, are you going to enlighten us on what TBI talked to you all about? We are very curious. Inquiring minds want to know, of course. Sebastian Rogers is topic number 2, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's hear what they have to say about this young man. Hold on 1 second. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Hello, everybody in the chat.
Logical father.
I feel like I'm carrying the world, and all of a sudden I got somebody. helping me hold that up.
Seth Rogers, Sebastian's biological dad, told me he has been searching for his son since the first day Sebastian was reported missing from his home in the beach area. And he says now there are more resources looking for Sebastian with the United Cajun Navy here following the conclusion of the Riley Strain search.
Normally we wouldn't deploy twice in the same area, but the outpouring was just so strong for us to stay and look for Sebastian. We said, you know what, since we're here, let's do it.
The UCN is working independently from law enforcement and joined search efforts on Saturday. Today was the first day volunteers were encouraged to help in the ongoing search.
There's really a lack of answers, and the truth is nobody knows where he is. And I see his family hurting, and I see a community trying to rally together around this boy.
But the turnout, volunteers say, was not enough. With criticism online, Seth says the drama on the internet has deterred some people from helping, and he says it needs to stop.
People need to stop their ego. Just because you pick up a phone and start recording, you can either help with that or you can hinder. I am asking the world to help me find my son. I need my son back.
The handful of volunteers that did show spent the morning searching their assigned grid plan. Officials with the United Cajun Navy tell me due to a shortage of volunteers, they ended the searches around 3. But the search will continue tomorrow at 90 Volunteer Drive, and the only thing they need is people. As the search continues, for now, Seth is just clinging onto the memories and conversations he shared with Sebastian.
He's a teenager. He's 15. I understand. Okay, no, you're old. Okay, I'm old. I'm still your dad. You still have to deal with it. You may not want me here now, but you're going to need me later, and I'm going to be there for him.
And you are right now.
Right now, I'm there for him.
In Sumner County, Caitlin Quisenberry, News 2.
Okay, what was that all about? I'm kind of confused now. Oh, Lordy. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Okay, how can I word this delicately? He's talking to the public about helping him. He needs your help. He has the Cajun Navy helping. But as you've heard, and he's saying here, there's a lot of guys, he said, she said, with searching. You try to pull your phones out. This is what I was talking about when I made the video the other day about Sebastian Rogers. When you have people that want to start bickering, bantering, and one person wants to act like they know more or want to do more, that's not helping the situation. That's not helping. This is why the police probably, or basically don't want other people helping, because they know this is where it's going to lead. It's going to lead to problems. It's going to lead to somebody having the big head. It's going to lead to people bickering. And that's not what this is about. It's about a child missing. You're supposed to try to work cohesively with people. Now, I don't agree with anybody threatening anybody, telling somebody, they shouldn't search this and this. But as I said before, if you are treading on private property, federal property, you should know that. You can't just assume you can walk somewhere on certain property and think somebody's not going to go back and tell the people. The people are from there. That's what people don't seem to understand. People talk. You're in rural America. This is what happens. People talk. People talk. So they go back and tell, hey, man, I see some people on your property. So then he either sends somebody out or she sends somebody out to tell you, hey, who are you? What are you doing here? You have to think. It's more to it than just saying, I'm searching for a kid. You should know that the land you're on is owned by somebody. So you need to know where you're treading, if it's private property, if it's federal property. Common sense. Now, what's been going on with that Cajun Navy and going on with all that YouTube mess and who said what and who told somebody not to search, I don't get into all that because I don't have time for that. That's not what I'm about. So if these people who are helping him, Cajun Navy, they're not genuine, not legit, Seth will find that out on his own. Because in the real world, you can't tell people who to like. You can't tell people who to patronize. You can't tell people who to hang with, help. It is what it is. He'll learn on his own. If the people aren't up to par, he will learn on his own. Number 1. Number 2, tread lightly going on people's property. Number 3, he tells you they don't have a lot of people searching. Don't know if it's because of this he said, she said mess between YouTubers and the Cajun Navy. But that's the whole point. Why the police was trying to tell people. They're trying to tell you in a delicate manner without having to tell you. Some of you are not coming out for the right reasons. And I've said this 1,000 times. Just because you see somebody out there searching for somebody, it doesn't really mean that they're searching. I'm going to give you a for instance before I get to that last comment he made. Well, I'm going to address that comment, then I'm going to get to the other. The way he's talking about his son, because actually he believes his son is alive. That's his opinion. I can't tell this man not to have hope. It's almost like he knows he is alive. Hello? He's talking as if he knows he is alive. Pay attention. If I didn't know any better, he knows exactly where the child is. Because that comment makes people think, okay, why are you talking like that? But maybe that's just his way of talking to give himself hope. So I'm not here to point fingers at him. Don't want to point fingers at the Proudfoot exactly, but their behavior to me is suspect. But the way he spoke in this broadcast, you would think he knows his child is alive. But as I said, he could just be psyching himself up to believe the boy is alive as not to lose hope. Is that what he meant in this conversation? You could come home. I'm always going to be here. Blah, blah, blah. I know I'm old. That just seems almost like a personal conversation that has been told. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe so, Pinto. Maybe so. Because people watch what you do, what you say. And as you heard with this Megan Boswell situation, them wanting the jury to come from somewhere else, her attorneys worrying about people gossiping and talking and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's no different than this case here. People are going to talk, people are going to gossip, people are going to say things, people are going to make up stuff. That's just what people do. You got ignorant people. Bottom line. You just have ignorant people. But yes, that statement he made is very bizarre. As I said, it's almost as if he knows he's alive. And one might interpret it, hell, he knows where he is. I don't know. Because I don't know these people. And I know that there have been many people who have acted very suspicious, nonchalant, very empty during interviews, didn't search, and weren't arrested, never charged. So you're entitled to your opinion of these people and their behavior. And I think maybe that's why some people don't like talking, because they know every little thing they say and do is going to be chopped up. And then next you know, people start throwing daggers. Oh, he said this, she said this, like what we're doing right now. What we just heard him say sounds a bit strange, but the flip side of it could be he's holding out hope because he feels hopeless. He knows these the bio mother and the stepfather are not helping. So once again, TBI met with them to discuss the case. What did TBI say to Seth, Katie, and Chris? Did they all meet in the same room, number one? If they did they speak? Did they acknowledge one another? Or did any of the parents ask to be talked to separately? Where did they meet exactly? Hendersonville, Tennessee, the sheriff's office, a park, McDonald's, what? Where did they meet? How long did the meeting last? What was the purpose of the meeting? I'm very, very curious. The man seems burdened. He seems hopeless. That's why he asked this group to help. They went in to help with the Raleigh Strain case. People were talking about this group, Cajun Navy. He reached out to them. They showed up. It is what it is. And as you saw, they had flyers set up to hand out, pass out. How is it working with him, the Cajun Navy? You also heard many people didn't show up to help search. I don't know if it's because they're listening to this he said, she said gossip on YouTube by YouTubers. And as you heard the father say, you need to put your egos aside. And if that's all you're going to be there just to be filming, I don't need you. But this is what I was trying to make everybody understand in this last live, and then all the other lives I've done since I've been on YouTube, talking about Summer Wells and other places. Everybody is not genuine about the story. Just because somebody goes live from a cell phone, it does not mean that they are genuine. And I don't think a lot of you get that. It's like beating a dead horse. Oh, they're over there. They're at the crime scene. They're over here. They're searching. So what? So what? And I'm going to give you, for instance, of a so what. A woman was live today, I believe it was today, going over near the construction site or whatever, where the homes were being built, looking. It took her forever to talk. She's talking to people at her car, blah, 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 blah. Finally get out the car, she's searching. I'm scrolling through because I get bored very easily. That's just quaint. I get bored very easily. So yapping, talking to the chat. She gets out the car, she's walking around, and then somebody finally says to her in the chat, hey, why don't you go look through those pipes? And I was thinking the same thing. The boy's been missing a month. You actually think his body will be lying outside where you can see it? If that's the case, they would have found his body. They would have found his body. They would have found it already. Just keeping it real. They would have found it. Why didn't you go look in the pipes? So I think she said, okay, I'll go over there and I'll look. I'll get back. She was in her car when they mentioned it. So I turned it off because at this point, I didn't want to indulge, any father in the shenanigans of it all. She may have went in and looked in the pipes. Naturally, you'd have to squat down to try to look through to see if you see a body. People were asking her, did she smell anything while she was over there walking around? She had told them no, she didn't smell anything, strange. But my thing is, I didn't understand the purpose of her walking around. Because naturally, she's filming it and going live on YouTube. So this is the point that the police are trying to make without being ugly. A lot of people are not in this for the right reasons. Because you're just walking around on top of dirt, mud. You don't know if there's sinkholes in that construction site. We've had somebody die last year working on a construction site in East Knoxville. The hole caved in. Or let me say it again. The hole caved in. Digging holes, digging trenches, and then poof, the man is encompassed with mud. So those are the things you have to think about when you're out walking around and you don't know the ground you're on, you don't know the safety of the area that you're in, and you're walking through mud and dirt and you're looking or whatever you're doing, you don't know how safe that is where you're walking. Because we do have sinkholes here in Tennessee for those who are not aware. We do have sinkholes here. So you might be walking somewhere and the next thing you know, you're falling down 20, 30 feet into the earth. That's why you have to be careful walking in places you're not familiar with. And let's be truthful. You could own land, have a house. You don't even know that you have sinkholes. You don't know that where you are would sink until it happens. And that's the point. But nobody's thinking about that. She's just walking around, talking, and all these big pipes are sitting there, but you're not looking at them to see, well, why don't you squat down and look and see if the child's in there? See, it's stuff like this is when I tune out and zone out. Because common sense would tell you it's an open area where they're building houses. Damn well there's nobody right in the vicinity that's open. Because if so, he would have been found already. I would surely believe law officials have already been in that development where those houses are behind the Proudfoot's neighborhood. I'm sure they have looked over there. Surely they have. And surely nobody would just leave the body out if they wanted to keep it hidden. And that's the whole point. One, you got to know the suspect. If we ought to believe he's not alive, then you got to think like the suspect to think, where would they put the body? I doubt they would just throw the body out. Just throw the body out, especially if they're related to the victim. That's my commentary for Sebastian. Prayers. Oh, Lordy. For him to be found alive. It looks grim right now. I don't think he was lured away. I don't. If he was, then he was. I don't know. No proof so far. But this is just a wicked story. My third subject for the hour is Riley Strain. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. I don't know where this case is going. I don't know if the parents are going to be able to accept the findings of anything. But so far, National Police Department has conducted an autopsy. The parents went and found their own entity to exact an autopsy. Basically, they're saying the same as the National Police Department. We're also waiting for the toxicology report to come back to see what was inside of the young man. And right now, there is no further investigation by the National Police Department into this death of him. You're going to hear different conversations about dry drowning, this and that. You're entitled to your opinion. But my thing is, you got to know what happened to the person to assume one or the other. And that's the whole point. We don't know what happened because there's no footage of anything. What we have seen versus anything new, we haven't seen anything new. Nothing has been provided. But I don't know if the parents are going to be satisfied with what's been said already versus what's going to be revealed in the toxicology report. Now, what will it offer? I have not a clue. I have not a clue. We're going to go to News Nation, and they are going to discuss different topics pertaining to dry drowning and, oh Lord, foul play and whatever else. I don't know what's going to come from this, but it's just a bizarre situation. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you. And that's something I wanted to discuss too, about Sebastian. Perhaps he never made it home from his venture out, if we can even prove that he went out with his mother that day. I don't know.
Of the Body Bags podcast. Thank you both for being here.
Okay.
And for more on these questions, I want to go to our panel who can help us understand all of this. Dr. Michelle Dupree, a retired forensic pathologist and former medical examiner, and forensic analyst Joseph Scott Morgan, also host of the Body Bags podcast. Thank you both for being here. Dr. Dupree, I want to start with you. There's a lot of questions about the fact that the family was told that there was not water in Riley's lungs. How do you explain that?
Well, there's really two ways to drown, if you will. One is a wet drowning, one is a dry. And in a wet drowning, the person is panicking, they're taking water in. The other situation is when the person is about to drown, they do panic, but their throat basically freezes up. They have what's called a laryngospasm, and that prevents water and air from getting in. So there may not be that much water in the lungs if that is what happened.
Dr. Dupree, if you have a dry drowning and you are doing an autopsy, are you able to see that happened? Is there something that happens to the throat or something that you can see as a medical examiner?
Typically, no, there isn't. Drowning is a very specific type of death, though, and it is something that we call a diagnosis of exclusion, which means that we have to exclude every other cause of death, and then it can be a drowning. But just because they were found in water doesn't necessarily mean that it was a drowning.
Joseph, I want to know what you think about this new revelation that Riley was not wearing the jeans, so no pants. And that the cowboy boots, he had these size 15 cowboy boots that were also not on him when the body was discovered. However, his shirt was still on him and his Apple Watch was still on him. The family is very, very confused and concerned by that. What do you make of it, Joseph?
No, I think that probably right out of the gate, one of the things that I would address relative to this is I would be thinking about the speed of the current. I started my career in New Orleans, so I worked a lot of waterborne deaths, Mississippi River, which is not too dissimilar from the Cumberland, and lake water as well. Many times the current will take shoes off, particularly if you've got slip-on cowboy boots, which he is alleged to have had on. I have a harder time, though, Brian, with the clothing on his lower body, his pants. And in that list that you mentioned, they didn't say anything about a belt. I want to know if his pants were belted as well, kind of digging into that, socks on his feet, those sorts of things. I'd like to know the status of those. And of course, it's very provocative when you think about this. Anytime, and I think that Michelle can probably will agree with me on this, anytime that we have someone that is unclad, particularly in the lower body, it's rather provocative when you begin to think about it. And so we take a harder look at those kinds of cases because any number of things can at least be implied. We have to follow that line of logic to its finality. It's troubling to me, however, that the Nashville police said that, that they're no longer investigating this. And their autopsy, I think that one of the commentators stated that just a second ago, that their autopsy had revealed nothing. They, being the Nashville police, it's not their autopsy. It is the coroner/medical examiner's autopsy. And to this point, we don't have toxicology yet. So I think they've really jumped the gun on this. I have a problem with this. But we need to know what's going on in this young man's system.
Yeah, and the fact again that he had the shirt on, but the pants. And I asked yesterday the family spokesman if he was wearing a belt. They don't know right now. I would assume he was, but we don't know the answer to that question right now. It's interesting, Dr. Dupree, I was talking to another expert earlier who said that bodies without penetrating wounds, I wrote down what he told me, can bloat and make the clothes tighter. And what the police have said so far about Riley is that there were no signs of foul play, no penetrating wounds, nothing like that. So is it possible that the body would have bloated and made it even more difficult for the clothes to come off?
It is, of course, but that depends on when the clothes came off. As was mentioned earlier, my understanding is that the current in this particular river does flow pretty rapidly, and there's all types of debris and obstacles in that river that can jerk off the clothes, tear the clothes, anything like that. So the body is not going to bloat for probably 2 to 3 days. He was in there for around 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I also want to make a point that we have something in law enforcement called the totality of circumstances. We can't just look at one thing. We need to look at everything surrounding this case. And I do agree. I think maybe we're a little premature in this right now. There's more to be investigated.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find news
Premature.
on your television.
Premature and coming up with information. Oh, what say you to chat? Take the polls, everybody, because I'm going to ask different polls during this live stream. Thank you for your time. Dry drowning, bloating. I thought about the bloating, but I didn't think of it in the way that Mr. Enton thought of it. I thought, could he have gotten bloated, which naturally he would. So body bloated after 3 days or so. Could the clothes came off because his body was expanded? Don't know. Either way, clothes stayed on from bloating, clothes stayed popped off from bloating. Water, the currents, what's underneath, as I mentioned that before in my last live stream, you don't know what's under the water. Objects, could it be something helped pull, took the clothes off? So I asked all the questions. Did he wear socks? Did he have on underwear? What kind of underwear did he have on? Because if he was naked from the waist down and just had the shirt on, first thing I'm going to wonder is, one, is he the type to wear underwear? Number two, does he wear tighty whities or does he wear boxers? Or does he wear the fitted type underwear the guys wear? They have the band around the waist, but they're cotton. See, those are all the questions you have to ask. Because that's the whole point. When a person's dying, or dead in the water rather, you don't know what's going on under the water because who knows that they're there. So you're just trying to chop up every little thing about the decedent once they have been recovered out of the water or on land. And the fact that we don't have any more CCTV footage to assert anything, you don't know. Now you hear them talking about a little bit of water in the lungs, the lungs, the mouth closing up. Why there wouldn't be any water in his lungs? Is that what happened? He rolled in the water alive, but the throat closed up somehow. I don't know, because I don't know much about that, about the dry drowning. We've heard that mentioned before in another content with Summer Wells, and people wore that out. Were the clothes taken off by the currents? 30% yes, 35% no, 35% not sure. Okay. 21 votes. Did the currents take off his clothes? Another thing I was wanting, if they checked all cavities on the body, naturally when you're in water, you can't get a definitive answer. If someone had sexual relations, rape, that came to mind. Just, chopping up every possibility because we don't know anything. But right now, Nashville is saying it's no foul play. So are they rushing to judgment on the information? Because even if you find out he had drugs in his system, you got to prove they were forced down his throat, stuck with a needle, or put in a drink. It's a wicked story. Tomorrow will be his services back in Missouri. I'll bring you an update pertaining to that. This is a 3-part live. Megan Boswell, she had some hearings wanting her other charges separate from the murder charge of her daughter, Evelyn. They were denied by the judge today in court. Attorney wanting a jury from another jurisdiction, but keep the trial in Sullivan County. That was the latest coming out of Sullivan County today. And she will go back to court on the 20th to get a decision about the jury selection and where they're going to come from. I think they need to pick the people right there in Sullivan County, because I don't care where you go, somebody's heard of this story. Somebody's probably going to still research the story when they become a jury, even though they tell you not to do that. But, if you're not watching what people are doing, they'll go read stuff on their phone or iPad. Just better not get caught, because it will affect the trial during and afterwards. Ask Scott Peterson about that. Thank you, Tacos. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for joining me. Riley Strain, what is going to become of this case? 2 autopsies saying basically the same thing. No foul play. Did he go in the water dead? Or stumbled into the water alive, sucked up a little bit of water, throat closed up, somehow, dry drowning? What happened? Took down to the water? I don't know. I try not to get too far off into it because I kind of want to believe what the coroner has to say. Now you're talking about 2 people doing an autopsy. And as I said, as far as drugs, you'd have to prove that. Even if it comes back he had something in his system. You got to prove what? He took it, he didn't take it. Who's going to admit that they gave it to him? Nobody. He can't tell you what happened. And I still don't understand why he was over there by the river. I'm baffled, quite frankly. Well, Nashville has all kind of crime, honey. They have all kind of crime. And from what's been said about that bar scene, he's not the only one that's had some incidents at the bar. There have been 2 cases I brought you 2 weeks ago of women being drugged at the bar, one of those bars. Incident with one white guy or black guy getting in a fight at a bar. So bad things happen at bars. Fights take place, shootings, stabbings. It is what it is. That's why it's been said, everybody can't drink. Because we still haven't even got an understanding of what actually happened for him to get kicked out. Father doesn't want to know for some weird reason. But as I keep saying, and I'm going to keep saying it until I stop talking about this case, you should want to know what happened at the bar. Because whatever happened at the bar is what led to your son being found in a river 8 miles down, up, however you want to word it. He didn't just go to the river. He didn't go to Nashville to hang at the river. I don't assume he went there to kill himself or jump in the river. Could have done that at home. But that's why I said you have to know the person. You have to know their temperament. You have to know what they were. You have to know their mindset. Is he medicated? Does he take prescriptions for bipolar or any type of anxieties? Is he a pill popper? Is he easily coerced into taking things? Did somebody put something in his drink? We don't know nothing. And if they're saying accident, where can you take it? He's already had 2 autopsies. So one by Nashville and one by another company. So what are we going to say? Both are lying? Both are lying. No way everybody's going to believe both are lying. And even with, as I said, even with the toxicology, will it even matter that he had drugs in his system? I don't know. Causing him to be more disoriented? Of course. But it still don't add up because, as I said, the street is not near the water. And that's what's baffling to me. One, why are you over there? Two, what happened for you to get in the water? Did you get in the water from up top, rolled down, pushed down, fell down, passed out, sat on a guardrail, rolled over, got sick, lost your balance? What? Then you got the issue with the card. I read one commenter saying maybe he was thrown up and the card fell out. He was reaching for it and then stumbled off the hill. I don't know. Too many questions. But in the end, you got two entities saying it's an accident. But naturally, the parents have questions. As I said before in my live about the homeless people and them still wanting to talk to them, I don't see the point of trying to keep talking to people. Because that's what got you in the mess about that damn shirt. And I'm going to keep saying that too. Banking on what somebody said. And then he floats up with his shirt on. So did his clothes come off from being bloated? Socks, shoes, underwear, pants. Will they ever find the wallet, phone? Are they in the river somewhere? Floated out of his pockets, possibly. What a mess. Let's see what you all have to say about the polls here. All right, I got 39 votes so far. 41% no, 23% yes, 36% of you are not sure about the currents and the close. There we have it. Yeah. And he ran and walked into the dark street instead of staying in a well-lit area. It's just strange, very strange. And that's why I said you have to know the person. You can guess and assume all day. It gets to a point where I get tired of trying to, put it together because it's a headache. Because until you know the person, you really can't say how he got to the river. We know he walked over there allegedly, but why? All the attraction is back on Broadway. Even if you've never been to Nashville, you've never been to New York, you've never been to Canada, wherever you're going, at some point your brain is supposed to function enough to say, this don't look right. I don't care, sober or drunk. I'm just, because I can only speak for myself, I can't speak for him. But at some point, you want to believe he knew he's not going towards any attractions. Because he wasn't. There's nothing over there. Concrete and some buildings and some trees and some drop-offs, ledges, and a river at the bottom. That's it. Nothing spectacular. So you got to ask yourself, why would this person continue to walk over there? At some point, you can't tell me he couldn't smell the water. Because the water has its own smell. Especially if it's dirty as hell, it's going to smell like the fucking sewer. Because I can tell you this river over here in Knoxville, going towards the University of Tennessee, it is awful. I think there's like a sanitation little depot right there near the river. And it smells just god-awful. So you can smell the water as you approach it. I don't care if you're going to the ocean, you're going to the lake, you're going to the river, you can smell the water. So that should have been a clue. Why am I walking over here? So I found it strange to even be over there. And then you look at the time frame. We got a 10, 15 minute window of walking. It just don't make no sense. But that's the point. I don't know him. I don't know what was on his mind. I don't know why he was walking over there. And you still can't explain going into the river because the river is not near the sidewalk. You've got to tumble some ways down. And everywhere over there is not made the same. I saw concrete pillars. a rail behind that, then trees, branches, ledges, but it ain't the same. You could walk a few feet over and it might be made a little bit different. So see, that's why I said, where is exactly that he fell in, rolled down, dead already. So he had to been what? Sitting up, urinating, defecating, passed out, and then stumbled down the rocks. I said it then. Couldn't the rocks stop his fall, perhaps? I don't know, because I'm not there. Not there to see it. I don't know. And talking about it over and over is really not going anywhere because you're never going to know the truth. Then the issue with the guy calling up saying, I heard some commotion, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's going back into the belly of the beast like the shirt. Everybody getting hooped up, making videos about a shirt, and the dead man pops up with the shirt on. That was a doozy right there. No pants, boots, socks, underwear. Just the shirt and the watch. You see, the watch didn't come out. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know. What's the next poll I'm going to put up? Oh, I know what I'm going to put up. All right, everybody, I'm giving you another question. Take the poll. Did he fall into the water dead? However he got in that water, rolled in, pushed in, stumbled in, because none of it makes any sense. Was he already deceased when he got into the water? Number one. Take the poll, everybody. 65 in the room. Take the poll. I got to bring you the latest on P. Diddy. That was going to probably run a little bit longer because that's got so much to play pertaining to him and all these allegations and different people who have something to say. Oh, I'll be on here forever. The poll is going up and down. Thank you all for taking the poll. I thank you so much for tuning into this live stream. Welcome all new members, subscribers, viewers, old viewers, new viewers, chat members. Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you for patronizing. 60% so far. He fell in the water deceased. 13% of you not sure. No bruises, no marks, no strangulation, no stabs, no shooting marks. I mean, gunshots. Put it together. In no way I would believe a person would assault you on the street without leaving something, scuff marks. Then too, you got to remember, he's in the water. You don't know what's in the water. Anything could be in that water. A car, a boat, underneath, metal. To get scratched up, banged up under there. Did he fall into the water deceased? I'd like to know where he fell. If time could give us a picture, give us a replay, it'd be nice to see where he got in, what he was doing. Alone, talking, standing, talking on the phone, throwing up. What was he doing? Trying to use the bathroom? Maybe he was urinating, passed out. I don't know. Fell face forward, tumbled down. I don't know. Oh, it'll make you dizzy. That's why I want there to be an ending to this with the strains, because it's too much, especially with the 2 autopsies now. It's daunting at this point. And Sebastian, that's a whole nother situation. Let's see what we can find on that young man. Since I've got most of my information already repeated during the live stream. Oh, let's see. Well, most of you know the body farm is here in my area. Let's hear what they have to say at the body farm about Riley Strain. I'm glad I found this. Let's do a little digging here.
Of foul play at this time, according to the examination here at the riverbank.
The question of what exactly happened to Riley Strain still remains unanswered 6 days after the 21-year-old's body was pulled from the Cumberland River. Thanks for joining us, everyone, here on News Channel 5 Plus and streaming tonight. I'm Rory Johnston.
And I'm Carrie Sharp. The family has ordered a second autopsy as we are still waiting for the final report.
But a new detail led us to a world-renowned expert on body decomposition right here in Tennessee. Nick Barris has the story.
A friend of Riley Strain's family says that they ordered a second autopsy, which reached the same basic conclusions as Metro's. But he says the Strain family also has questions about the condition of Riley's body when it was pulled from the river. A dock worker spotted the body downriver from downtown Nashville, where Riley was last seen. Police Chief John Drake confirmed the identity.
Mr. Strain still had the shirt on that he was wearing, still had the watch.
But News Channel 5 has learned Riley's body was found without his jeans or cowboy boots. Riley certainly was fully clothed in the security video the night he disappeared, but when he was pulled from the river 2 weeks later, from the waist down, only his boxer shorts and socks remained.
It is unusual.
Okay, we finally hear it. Boxer shorts, socks remain. Well, why didn't you all say that yesterday? See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I was questioning this in the live yesterday. Why are they shocked about the information getting out to the public? When Mr. Dingman was talking, I didn't quite understand where he was going with this. So this is why, you have to be specific when you talk. Somebody asks you a question. You just say without. Okay, that means we're thinking he's naked. Just a shirt and naked. Now you're telling us now he had on socks and boxers. That's why I asked that question yesterday, and I asked the question today in this live. Did he have on tighty whities? Did he have on boxers? Did he have on the briefs the guys wear with the band around the waist? Lord have mercy. I'm sinking sand with this case.
If you fall in the river, it's very difficult to get your pants off.
Dr. Bill Bass, now retired, is the founder of the University of Tennessee's famed Body Farm and one of the foremost experts on body decomposition in the world. We asked him about the missing pants and boots. Dr. Bass says it's possible, but unlikely they just came off in the river current.
No, they would not come off by themselves.
They would not come off.
Dr. Bass says debris could have snagged the clothing or...
I would say that somebody took them off.
What?
Do research on this, which is very difficult because you got to kill a person to do it.
Shut up.
Difficult to get your pants off. It's difficult when you arrive to get your pants off.
Lord, I love Dr. Bass. World-renowned doctor here in Knoxville, Tennessee. He has done a lot of research work. The Body Farm is at the University of Tennessee, going on Alcoa Highway, for those of us familiar with the area, before you get to the UT Medical Center. And on that plot of land lies dead people for research, if you did not know. He is now retired. Lord have mercy, Dr. Bass. You know you done stirred up some shit now. He says it's difficult when you are alive to get your pants off. With a little light humor. I thought about that too. Wet pants on, if they're fitted, I couldn't see them coming off, even without a belt. Because, a lot of people are still wearing the jeggings leggings, jeggings, lightweight cotton, heavy cotton, jean type jeggings, blue jeans. But if your pants are not on you secure, so we have to ask that. We don't know if he wore a belt or not. So perhaps no belt, pants had a little looseness to it. Would they have slid off this young man? Lord have mercy. Should have never let Dr. Bass talk.
We did speak with Riley's stepdad, Chris, who says he does not right now want to comment on the friend's interview because the family is preparing for Riley's funeral on Friday. But he did say that they will have, quote, big things to share, unquote, next week.
Uh-oh.
Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
Nick, thank you. Investigators are still awaiting toxicology results from the autopsy. For now, the case remains open.
The case remains open. Let's go back and hear this one more time. Once again, we don't know what happened to this man. We don't know if he was alive or deceased. We're banking on the autopsy reports to be accurate. 2 have been done. He will be buried tomorrow in the state of Missouri. Prayers to the family. They've got big news next week. What big news might that be? You're suing Luke 32 Bridge? Would that be it? Are you going to give us some information on some data? Phone pings? Text messages? Lord have mercy, the devil's a liar.
I still had to watch.
But News Channel 5 has learned Riley was found without his jeans or cowboy boots. Riley certainly was fully clothed in the security video the night he disappeared, but when he was pulled from the river 2 weeks later, from the waist down, only his boxer shorts and socks remained.
It is unusual. Normally, if you fall in the river, it's very difficult to get your pants off.
Bill Bass, now retired, is the founder of the University of Tennessee's famed Body Farm and one of the foremost experts on body decomposition in the world. We asked him about the missing pants and boots. Dr. Bass says it's possible, but unlikely they just came off in the river current.
No, they would not come off by themselves.
Dr. Bass says debris could have snagged the clothing or...
I would say that somebody took them off. If you do research on this, which is very difficult because you got to kill a person to do it, but
Lord have mercy.
it's difficult to get your pants off.
Cut it out, Dr. Bass.
It's difficult when you arrive to get your pants off.
Lord,
we did speak with Riley's stepdad, Chris, who says he does not right now want to comment on the friend's interview because the family is preparing for Riley's funeral on Friday. But he did say that they will have, quote, big things to share, unquote, next week. Nick Barris, News Channel.
Big things to share. What might that be? I'm scared to ask. So let's take a poll pertaining to Dr. Bass. Or do you want to take a poll? Because I already asked the question already about the pants coming off. Let's see. Most of you, it's about neck to neck and not sure about the pants coming off in the water. He said somebody took them off. Let's take that poll then. Sweet Jesus. I don't know where else to take this. I hope they didn't hear this interview. Woo. Could it be he took his pants off? You don't need to take your pants off the wee-wee. Most guys don't need to take their pants off the wee-wee. And then if he was doing the other, I don't know. If he's not crafty, maybe he took his pants off to make a bowel movement. I don't know. I'm not trying to be nasty, but just trying to go through all the possibilities. Lord have mercy, the queen. I can't. Lord, I can't. Oh, Jesus. All right, everybody, take this poll. Let's make it count. Did someone take off Riley Strain's pants? Okay, Sonola. I thought about that too. If you think he had sex, I'll put that up next. Next poll. Sexually assaulted or he had casual sex with someone. Lord Jesus. Of course, I thought about that before we found out about the pants being off. Yeah, at least the boxers were on. Because I was thinking he didn't have no boxers on. The way Chris was talking yesterday, I thought, I hope, is he making this clear? This is why you have to be clear when you're speaking to the public. This is why I told everybody that interview, that him talking in the camera to News Nation was confusing. You said without everything. So I assume he didn't have on no socks, he didn't have on no boxers. Now today we're here, he had on boxers, he had on socks. So his socks stayed on. Let me think about this. Boxers, which are bigger than tighty whities. So then you gotta ask, how fitted was the boxers? Did they have the elastic in them? Which most of them do, don't they? Damn, I don't know where this is going. All right, let me check the poll, everybody. Did someone take off his pants? 65% says yes. 20% no. 15% not sure. Check the poll. Wow, wow, wow. Woo, Jesus wept. Has everybody taken the poll that wants to take the poll? I got 194 people in here, only 20 votes. Come on, you guys. Everybody take the poll. Won't hurt you to take the poll. You're watching this live stream, take this poll. Wrong side of town, designer clothes, boots, wallet. I don't know. But this is what I said yesterday. Just because Queen has lived, I didn't bank on that shirt bullshit. When everybody was running around like deer in headlights going on and on about that shirt, I never once said I believed it. Now, the dead man floats up in the shirt. This is why I would not bank on that. Because I said you got to prove that's the same shirt. And when I heard the vomit story, I just didn't believe it. I never said I didn't believe about the vomit. I just didn't really talk about it. But then when they said, oh, well, the guy was talking about it and blah, 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 and all these people heard him, and we never told anybody about the vomit, and something still told me, homeless or not, do I really want to touch vomit just to put on somebody's stinky ass shirt? Am I this desperate for a shirt? Now, some would say, yeah, but every homeless person isn't the same. You got some homeless people that will try to take a shower, take a bath somewhere if they can. Then you got the other homeless that just say the hell with it. I'm dirty, I'm funky. I ain't worried about trying to bathe. I ain't worried about trying to stay clean or, get clean socks or, whatever. But when I first heard that, I said, I don't know if I believe this. And I'm glad I didn't ride that donkey train. Because now the man pops up with the shirt on in the water. So let's ask this question, because this was not mentioned. Was the shirt buttoned or unbuttoned? Bingo card. So you're not getting all the information. This is why I said, Chris, whoever's talking, please stop. I'm not trying to be rude, but if you're not going to give us the information accurately, don't tell us nothing. Because now it's a day later, $1 short. Oh, by the way, he had his boxers and socks on. Could have told us that yesterday. Because we didn't know if he had his boxers on or not. I mean, there are men who don't wear underwear. $29 people taking the poll out of 125 watching. Come on, you guys. Did somebody else take off his pants? So then you got to say what? He was alive or he was deceased. The poll on this app won't let me put in the variables. I'd have to do that over on my community page, because I can't put the variables on this poll. Was his shirt buttoned or unbuttoned when they got him out of the river? I'm curious, because this will help us understand about the pants. If his shirt was unbuttoned, then that means he was so bloated, he was busting out of the shirt, which would lead me to believe that's why his pants are off. Boots are off. Stay woke. So was the shirt fully buttoned or no? They had busted open from the body bloating. I'm going to go ahead and finish this because you all are taking too long to take the poll. Thanks, bro. 61% says somebody took off the pants. 19 no, 19 not sure. Well, hold on. It's going to be a two-part question. Was he dead if the pants were took off by someone else? Let's say somebody took the pants off. Was he dead? See, I need to be on my community page where I can put the poll and put different answers. Makes it better for a poll than this yes and no business. Woo, y'all jumped 100%, 86%. So he dipped into the woods and what? Dipped into the trees, somebody was standing there. You still would have an altercation, don't you think? You want me to believe this guy 6'5" wouldn't try to fight back? Stay woke. Was he dead? And somebody took his pants off. Did somebody take pants off of him dead? I'll have to ask it two different ways. For the last time, nobody's listening. There are no marks on the body. No gunshots, no stabbing, no strangulation. You want me to believe a person is on the ground fighting somebody and there will be no marks? Did they check DNA under his fingernails? Bingo card. But see, being in the water contaminates the body, especially when you're talking about semen inside of the vagina, the anal canal, the mouth, to see if a person had sex or was raped. That's where you had a problem because he was in water. So did they check his anal cavities, mouth? Just curious. I don't know. It's all bizarre.
Investigators are still awaiting toxic.
It's all bizarre. Let's hear what Pat has to say.
That there was no water in his lungs. So clearly he was murdered. All right. I'm going to go into
Say what, Pat?
Explanation on a number.
Hold on. Then what did she say?
I'm going to go into a bit of an in-depth explanation on a number of things, how things work. I'm going to give you 3 theories as to why I still believe it's accidental death. I'll give you my number one theory first, and then I'll go to the other two less likely. But because life is odd sometimes, I'm not going to discount the possibility. But I will also show you why it is still a likely accidental death. All right, before I get started, please do, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button, because I'm sure there's going to be more on this case. We haven't gotten all the autopsy information or toxicology. So when all that comes out, you will get notified, and I will probably put out a video on whatever results come out next. Also, I've spoken a lot on the Sebastian Riley case and doing statement analysis. I know many of you are following that. So if I speak on that again, if he's found, the notification will come into you. So subscribe to the channel and like the video. Okay, now let's go on what I think is happening. First of all, I want to say the parents asked for a second autopsy, and that is perfectly reasonable to do. If I were a parent, I'd ask for a second autopsy. As a matter of fact, you should get a second opinion on everything. If you're ill and you go to a doctor, get a second opinion on whatever they say. One person is not always right. And let me say this, if I'm wrong about this case, it's because I'm not always right. I'm not some kind of incredible genius who's never failed in life making an analysis. Okay, but I will try to explain to you how things work so you can understand that. All right, now let's go to the fact he was found with no pants and no cowboy boots, which really strikes people as, oh, come on now. You know, he didn't just fall into the river, because he'd still be wearing those cowboy boots and the pants. Not necessarily so, because here's what happens. Even when you're in an inebriated state, which he appears to have been, and we also don't know if there's other substances in his system, the toxicology reports will come back with that. But you pitch into the river. And the first thing you feel are huge weights on your feet. Shoes are heavy when you're trying to stay afloat, very heavy. So what you do is remove the shoes or boots or whatever's on your feet, get them off of there so that you can swim, and it doesn't weight you down.
Now, Pat, come on now. If you are drowning, it's dark, especially if you're inebriated. You are not thinking about taking your shoes off while drowning. Please stop this now. That is not what people think about when drowning. I doubt that. I doubt that when you fall in the water, whether it's daylight or nighttime, you are thinking about your shoes, your high heels. You are trying to stay afloat if you can reason enough to try to stay afloat. Number one, if you are intoxicated under the influence of drugs, you are probably swaggering around and or sinking sand. Let's keep that real. Now, Pat, I disagree with you on that. I don't think nobody is thinking about their shoes. We know you're going to be heavy with shoes on, boots on. But that's the whole point. We don't know how he got in the water, rolled into it, weighted down, put in there. And if he didn't have water in his lungs, we got to believe he was already dead when he got in the water. This is crazy. Take the pose, everybody.
To me, it was not surprising he didn't have his boots on. Secondly, then you say, well, what about his pants? Same problem. Pants, especially jeans that he was wearing, they suck that water up and they feel like they're just hanging and clinging and pulling you down. And I believe, again, and they will actually tell you to do this if you're drowning and you have clothes on, is to get rid of your footwear and your pants because of that. And sometimes you can even use the pants to twist them into some shape.
Who's giving this advice? How are you going to pull your clothes off and you're drowning? I've never heard of such. I have never heard of such. I refuse to believe that is what somebody's thinking about when they fall into the water. I don't care where they fell from, pushed, fell over something, car submerged. I do not believe you're thinking about your shoes. This is ridiculous. No way you're thinking about your shoes when you fall into water. Because we don't really know what happened to him and what his state was. So far we know he rolled, because this is the theory everybody wants to go with, he rolled down this damn hill. So that means he was already dead once he got to the bottom and rolled in the water. So he was dead rolling. So if you're dead rolling, you're not thinking about your shoes. And I don't think you're thinking about your shoes if you fell in the water accidentally. You're trying to sustain yourself. I would think if you're sober, you are fighting the water. You're trying to stay on top of that water. I refuse to believe you are digging your boots and shoes off while trying to stay afloat. Who would be doing this? Who would be doing this? Now, Pat, now stop this. Now, damn.
To make a little buoy for yourself. I can't imagine trying to do all that, but probably some people can, especially if they're not, if they can keep afloat for quite a while, they can make choices. But if he's pulled the boots off in desperation, and now he feels the pants pulling on him, and he pulls them off. Now, I look at this poor young man, and that's a thin guy. All right? So if you were, shall we say, more well endowed in the butt, you might have, and your pants were on real tight and whatever, you might have trouble getting them off. This is true. But he's a very thin guy. And I'm going to say he's kind of probably fairly flat in the back. So being able to pull your pants off under those situations, drowning situation where you're trying to free yourself from the weight is not unlikely. So I do believe that most likely, theory number one is he did fall into the river. He managed to pulled the boots off, pull the pants off, and he's trying now to survive.
That is true.
Of course, he's also inebriated. And so a lot of people who are not in very good shape for actually swimming, to know which direction is shore once they've fallen in, panic sets in. All kinds of things can happen. But they have said, and I don't know who the they is. This is a little bit sketchy. That he doesn't have any water in his lungs. And I don't know if that is actually true at this point. There seems to be conflicting statements on that. So that's why I may do another video when we find that out. However, they say it's 10 to 15% of drowning victims do not have water in their lungs, but they were drowning victims. And you say, how does this happen? I mean, most people think, well, there's no water in their lungs. Obviously, he was dead, and then he was chucked into the water. But that's not true. 10 to 15% do not have water in their lungs who did drown. Now, how does this happen? Let's talk about science here. You know, everybody says, believe the science, but science keeps changing its mind. So in other words, something is true for 20, 30 years, and then some other scientists come out and produce some experiments, studies, papers, and suddenly things shift toward them. Oh, see, now it's this. And so a lot of times you really actually don't know what is true and what isn't. But one of the main beliefs for the reason there is no water in the lungs of 10 to 15% of drowning victims was a thing called laryngospasm. Laryngospasm is where basically it just closes up here, and a spasm, you cannot breathe. All right. Now, I can speak on this because actually I have been a victim of laryngospasm, not while I'm drowning, just in regular life. It happens to people who are not in the water. A laryngospasm is caused by, it's kind of questionable what causes it exactly. Something irritates this area, and then you have a spasm in response. It's trying to close up to prevent you from getting whatever this area thinks you're getting going into your lungs, to keep you from drowning, essentially. I have had laryngospasm about, I would say 10 times in my life, and it's extremely frightening. The first time I had it, I was actually hiking in Costa Rica with my sister, and I had a water bottle, and I took a sip of the water, just plain water, and it must have hit that, and all of a sudden.
It's called hitting the wrong pipe. It happens to a lot of us, because I have that issue. You could drink water, you could drink soda. It could be your first drink of the day, first whatever, and your airways cut off. Is that what happened to Riley Strain? That he was alive when he went into the water, a gulp or two went in, and the throat closed up. That'll be the next question. Was he alive when he went into the river? I'm basically asking the same question, different ways. Sammy, you're asking the wrong person. You're asking the wrong person. Take the pose, everybody. Was he alive when he went into the river? Because if he had what she had, and I think this has been mentioned on News Nation, this spasm issue, could it be that the throat closed up as soon as it realized something was unfamiliar, or it just closed up on its own? Don't know, because this happens with many of us with eating, drinking. You take one sip of something. Also with gastric, when you have what they call GERD, it's acid reflux. Acid builds up from the stomach. I'm learning this personally. And acid builds up and it goes up to the throat. So you could feel bloated or really want to throw up just from a few bites of food because you have acid build up from his stomach. So we got to ask that. Did he have acid reflux? Just asking. Lots of questions you can ask, really. So he's alive when he goes in the water. First gulp of water, the throat automatically closed up. What say you? The chat. 6% says yes, he was alive when he went in the water. 72% of you are saying no. 22% of you are saying not sure.
I couldn't breathe. My sister was freaking out. She didn't know what to do. And she knew I wasn't choking on food because I'd been hiking and only had a water bottle. And neither of us knew what to do. And it was horrifying. And all of a sudden, after thinking I was about to die, it opened up and I could breathe again. I was like, oh, that was weird. Well, it happened again. I was eating one of those gummy bears one of those things.
Sugar.
Real sour things. Those sour things
Sugar.
kids eat. Oh, candy.
Sugar can cause that. That's really with acid reflux. Chocolate. I now can't eat chocolate. Something I've eaten all my life. I can eat a piece of chocolate right now and start choking. Literally. Literally. Anything acidic. Tomatoes, chocolate, candy, Skittles, all the type of candies I like. That acid builds up and it will cut your airway off. That's why it's called acid reflux. Pat, that might be what you have. Just say.
I was eating that, and I think that triggered it. And it closed up, and my daughter, who has worked with as an EMT essentially in her life and on an ambulance, thought that I was choking because we had been. She thought I choked on a candy. I had not. It was just that zing that did it. And I actually put my hand up like this to indicate to her, don't Heimlich me, because I recognize it from the same thing that happened in Costa Rica. I said, and of course everybody's panicking, and I'm like, and then eventually it released. I've had it happen when I'm sleeping. I literally wake up, can't breathe. I've had it happen when I was driving.
Acid reflux, Pat. You got acid reflux,
what I
girl.
learned is that, as horrifying as it is, and I'm not a swimmer, so I don't have a good intake of breath. So I don't know how to hold my breath a long time. So for me, it's scary. But I have found that it has released after it seems so long. You think you're not gonna survive. You think you're gonna just pass out eventually. And if you do pass out, that usually means that you relax and it relaxes and you wake up on the floor. I've never had that happen. I've always had it open up before that occurred. But in case you have laryngospasm, the most useful thing to do is to take 2 fingers and press behind your ears like this and put your head back. And that tends to release it sooner. I've also found in certain circumstances I've dropped my head, and that also helps.
Yeah, because I don't think many people are going to want to hold their head back while they're choking, because then you would feel like that would lodge it down farther. The item. No, I'm not a doctor, but if I'm choking, I've never thought to hold my head back. Does this work? Maybe it does, but I'm just saying most people probably would. You're grasping at your throat, or like you said, maybe you're looking down. But most people, I don't think, would hold their head back when they start choking. You just don't, because you don't think to do that. That's the whole point of this story about being in the water. It's dark. I'm rolling to the water unexpectedly. I'm wailing, and then I don't think it was the water that deep right there where he rolled. I think it may have been because they said the water was 4 to 7 feet higher the morning that he would have went in, or that night. So water would have been up on the rocks, I believe. Because what we saw when they found the cart, there was no water. But 4 to 7 feet, the water would have been up way higher. So when he started rolling, he would have gotten that water real fast. If he was alive. See, we don't really know. Lord have mercy. I think anybody would panic. People who swim drown. How about that? People who can swim panic. People who can swim drown. I don't know how many stories I've heard of people drowning. Somebody came back and told the public, oh, Bob could swim. Susie could swim. I don't know what happened.
Seems to be the best. But anyway, it's terrifying. Let me tell you, it's terrifying. So they believe that this laryngospasm can happen to people who are drowning. Perhaps they suck in just a speck of water in their panic, and
right,
it hits there, and things close up.
Maybe that's what happened.
At that point, if they theoretically, this is where it gets a little iffy. It was believed that basically they had the laryngospasm and passed away. In other words, died. Their heart stopped, and therefore, once their heart stops, you don't breathe in, and the water is not going to go into your lungs because you're not breathing water and you're not breathing. So your heart stops, and that's that, and you just sink. There's some claims that if generally a laryngospasm like my own would release, and then you suck in all the water, and therefore you drown with water in your lungs again. There's argument over it. There is. So I'm not going to deny that. Originally, it was considered 10 to 15% had laryngospasm, and that's why they did not have water go into their lungs, but still drowned. Another possibility is that, with a laryngospasm and alcohol and possible drugs, whatever it could be in your system, he could have had heart failure during that time, and therefore, again, he essentially was deceased before he went under the water fully, and therefore he doesn't have.
So what?
Water in his.
Jen, what the hell are you talking about in that chat? Your ankle bracelet got caught. Really? You gonna say that in the chat? Okay, I'm done. Did he have some type of spasm in his throat from the water? He was alive, hit the water, choked on some water, started to drown, passed out, had a heart attack whatsoever, and then he drowned. Or could it be, yes, he had a heart attack, stroke, and rolled into the water and then drowned? I don't know. I'm not here to claim anything. Well, people have drowned from swimming. Leg gets a cramp, you can't move. That's why they say a lot of people who drown, they can swim. Take the poll, everybody. Spasm from the water in his throat, and then he drowned. Could that have happened? And why there was not a lot of water or no water in his lungs? Choked on the water as soon as he hit it, panicked, and then drowned. 10 votes so far. Thank you for joining me. I'm trying to know what the hell is 7 talking about. Damn. Well, tacos, a lot of people have drowned that can swim. That's what they say. Because imagine falling in the water and it's a heavy current, being in the ocean. Many people, I'm sure, I don't know the percentage, of course, there have been people who have fallen in the water, off a boat, thrown over, whatever. The boat capsized and they were able to survive. But that's the whole point. You have got to know how to think in order to survive in heavy water, because water is water. And the ocean is definitely worse than any type of body of water, whether you can swim or not. So you have to think quick on your feet, falling in the water. And it would be helpful that you could swim, but that's the point. You've got to be in a thinking mode once you hit the water. Everybody's not. Some float, some don't. Some try to swim. And there have been people who have fallen in the water and miraculously lived because they were able to think swiftly. Somebody saw them fall in the water, so they were able to get aid to them, a boat, helicopter, so on and so forth.
Lungs. And there's other possibilities, and I can't argue all of them, but I still don't even know if he did have water in his lungs or he didn't. But just because he doesn't have water in his lungs doesn't mean he did not, quote, drown. In other words, he died in the river, sinking into the river. So the fact he had no pants.
Let me hear this again.
In other words, he died in the river. It essentially was deceased before he went under the water fully, and therefore he doesn't have water in his lungs. And there's other possibilities, and I can't argue all of them, but I still don't even know if he did have water in his lungs or he didn't. But just because he doesn't have water in his lungs doesn't mean he did not, quote, drown. In other words, he died in the river, sinking into the river. So the fact he had no pants on and no cowboy boots on does not indicate to me that he was assaulted. And he was assaulted and they were like taken from him at that time. But that is more likely a maneuver you make when you're sinking in the river and the weight of your clothing and your boots is pulling you down. You take them off to try to free yourself, and then unfortunately still sometimes isn't enough to get you out of the river. So that's theory number one. Also, I want to point out with the autopsies, no sign of violence. There is no gunshot, no stabbing wounds, no blunt force trauma. So there is no sign of trauma. So for all of you people who are also the smiley face people, please stop. Watch my other video, which I'll link in the description, where I tell you why the smiley face theory is the most ridiculous thing ever. So nobody is killing somebody, stalking them, stalking college boys, waiting for them to come out of bars, and then somehow capturing them, not harming them in any way physically, and making them somehow dead, or take them to the river and drown them personally. So water or no water in the lungs, that this gang or a couple of serial killers or one serial killer or whatever is managing to harm young college men without leaving a trace. This is just nonsense. So the fact is there were no signs of violence on his body, which is very important because generally speaking, if somebody is harming you and they're attacking you for some reason or other, it could be a robbery, it could be a sexual assault, whatever, you're going to have some signs of assault, and he has none. No cause of death that is from a weapon, okay? So I believe most likely still that he fell into the river and then tried to free himself from the weighted objects on his body, which were his boots and his pants, and then at some point couldn't get it back to shore quick enough, especially if he was inebriated. He could have had heart failure, he could have had the laryngeal spasm, it could be a combo of things, but he couldn't make it back, and he sunk into the river. So I stand with the most likely scenario is still accidental drowning. I put quotes on drowning just because the drowning aspect is you're in a river sinking. That's why they call it drowning. Now, a second scenario, just for the rest of you who are going to start arguing things. What else could have happened? Well, let's say, I'm just going to make this up. There's a lot of people love to make up scenarios. So I'll make up a couple scenarios.
Call everybody.
And I said, if I were investigating, if I were profiling the crime, working in the police department, these wouldn't be my go-to things, but I would say, look, you could check these things out just in case. And you have an inebriated young man, he's staggering about. Let's say he pitches onto the ground and near that homeless encampment. And he's kind of half out of it, or he's out of it. He's like passed out for a while. And some guy comes along and says, nice boots. That's not unlikely. And that does not that's not a violent act. They're just removing boots from an unconscious guy. And then the guy, I need some new pants too. And he, again, is a thin guy. It's not hard to get him off of him. They could have pulled those suckers off of him as well. Maybe they didn't want the shirt. They just pulled the pants off. And now they've got the pants. They got themselves a new pair of pants and a nice nice pair of boots, and they walk away. Riley wakes up, says, "What the hell? Damn it." And he staggers along and he falls into the river. And now you're back at the same sort of thing. He's in the river, and again, the thing about the water in the lungs.
Lord, Pat. Oh, my head is spinning. So somebody took his clothes off. He didn't fight him back. And then what? That don't make any sense. Take his clothes off. He has no wounds that he's been fighting anybody. So he's what? Standing there half naked and decides to do what? Oh my God, I can't. Woo, Lord help me.
You know, you can argue that so the cows come home, but he falls into the river and he drowns. Is that possible?
Hey, Tracy.
It's possible. I still think 31 is more likely. I'd go with 80% on 31, 10% on 32. 33. What could 33 be? 33, because they don't have the toxicology reports back, and I don't know whether they have full proof of drowning. Let's say they did exactly the same thing. They took off his shoes and the pants, and he's lying there, and he dies. He dies of something else. That's heart failure due to drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. And they go, "Oh man, oh, so we just took this guy. Oh, well, this guy's dead, man." And they just push him into the river. Possible? Sure. Not probable? Not as probable as theory number one. So, no, I'll go with 90% on theory number one. I'll go with 5% on each one of the other ones. Because they're possible. They're just not necessarily probable as the scenario of him falling into the river and just trying to get rid of the items that are weighting him down so he can save himself. Now, so that's it. That's my thoughts today on why people are now going crazy saying, "See, he was murdered." Let me reiterate why parents often think or prefer their child to have been murdered than the child to have died in an accidental death, like I believe Riley did. It is because it's just so frustrating as a parent to think, you know, you have this great kid and he's got his whole future ahead of him, and because of one stupid moment in time, he ends up dead. And it's so hard to accept. It's so unfair. Oh, come on. You know, why this one moment in time I had to do something and end up drowning? And if you look at my last video, which I'll link below, I talk about a friend of my kids who she went out on to celebrate her birthday with her friends in Baltimore, and she left the bar and walked away, and her purse was found on the ground. The car was still parked, and her body was eventually pulled out of the harbor. And so immediately it looked like an assault in the sense that, you know, somebody grabbed her purse or whatever, she lost her balance, fell in, or somebody grabbed her and hit her and knocked her in. Turned out there was a video camera, and the video camera actually was proof that she walked near the water and fell in. She was I think she was 26 years old. And she was going to meet her parents the next day to celebrate her birthday.
Well, why was she walking near the water to fall in, Pat? Just saying. Because if you're walking anywhere that's near a pier with no guardrails, anything could happen. Lose your step, you walking close, you're looking over, bad idea. Somebody comes up behind you, push you in. That's why you don't walk near the water, especially without guardrails. Because a lot of places have open piers where there is no rail, period. You could just jump in the water, get pushed. I don't advise going out looking at the water without a guardrail. I've done it in Lake Michigan in Chicago. Couldn't swim growing up. There was a pier you could walk off, and there was no guardrail going around that strip of concrete. It's not a good idea because people like to horseplay. Children play a lot. People play dirty games. I don't advise ever going near the water, the ocean, the lake, the river without a high guard rail, whether you can swim or not. Bad idea. Take the poll, everybody. Accidental death by drowning. 10 votes so far.
They were them. And I'm sure they like, gotta be kidding. And so initially the father believed there was foul play. But all of a sudden it got quiet, and the reason was he saw the video. And there was absolute proof there was no foul play. She just fell in the water. And it's horrifying, absolutely horrifying, to think that your child in just that one moment did something foolish that ended their life. Parents do not want to go there. They prefer to think that their child wasn't doing something silly that took away their future. They want to believe somebody did something to them. That we have somebody to blame besides their own child.
Very true.
That's human nature. So my heart goes out to the parents. And it could be, I will say to them, hey, all of us have had drunk. Oh.
I will agree with her here. This is one thing I will agree with, Miss Brown. People don't like the unknown. And sometimes even when you get a receipt, you're not willing to accept what's been said, such as now 2 autopsies saying no foul play. Because they're trying to reconcile how he went to this place, out of town, hanging with friends, go to a bar, get kicked out, roaming the streets to end up in the river. Because that's the question I've been asking since day one. How do you go out of town, hanging with friends to end up in a river? It's unheard of. And I know people do stupid stuff. Maybe this is just some stupid fluke because it's crazy. I would have never left that area except to go back to the hotel or to go to eat somewhere. That's what he should have done. Found a place to sit and get some water, some food in him. I mean, even if he threw it up, so what? At least you're in there. Somebody would eventually say, hey, sir, you need some help. Can we call you a cab, an Uber? He'd probably be alive today. That venturing toward the river was his demise. Whatever happened, he should have stayed where people could see him. If they beat you up, rob you, at least they're doing it in front of people. Not over by the fucking river where there's bushes and whatever the hell they got going on over there. I would have never walked over there. That's why I'm saying the case is still wicked because you can't understand how are you bar hopping to be dead in a river by yourself, allegedly. Make it make sense. Drowning, death, drowning, esophagus closed up, whatever theory you want to use, I always say start at the beginning. The beginning is at that fucking bar. Whether his father wants to accept it, the mother, the step-husband, the father's wife, Pookie, Ray, Mr. Dingman, you can't logically explain why the fuck he was over there by that damn river. So hell yeah, you want somebody to blame. And I get it. Because now you're trying to figure out why he ain't got no pants on. He ain't got no boots on. The river, he should have never been over that. It's a difference if everybody said, hey, let's go over to the river. Let's go on the river walk. Let's all go over and look at the water. It wasn't a consensus. He's by himself. That's why I told everybody, I got a feeling there was more going on with Riley Strain than what anybody wants to admit on paper. We're talking about a guy who probably was depressed. He probably easily got depressed. He never probably told people he got depressed. And when you mix in alcohol and other substances, your mind will do and say all type of crazy shit. Yeah, let's go walk by the river. I'm feeling mighty, mighty low tonight. I'm feeling bad tonight. I'm pissed off tonight. I feel betrayed tonight. You'd be surprised where your feet can take you. Same thing with being behind the wheel of a car. You upset, you're driving, your ass could be two hours away from your house, all because you were in thinking mode and you've not even paid attention to how far you've driven. You've seen it, you drove somewhere, you missed your exit, you missed your stop because you were daydreaming, you were half asleep. It happens every day. This is just a weird case because he's dead.
Not all of us, but I have 3 children, and I can tell you, they've been drunk. I hope they don't watch this video, but they have been, and God knows. I'm just lucky at this point, that they've hit middle age and are still here. Doesn't mean that he couldn't get drunk again and do something stupid.
Exactly.
Because even older people do stupid things.
Exactly.
Make bad choices in that one moment.
Exactly.
And it's hard to accept.
Exactly.
It's really hard to accept.
Very hard.
Anyway, that's it. Hope you got.
We're gonna jump off of that. Check out Pat Brown. She gives you her opinion. Does not mean it's the truth, but you're entitled to your opinion. Let's hear what News Nation has to say. Riley Strain's family won't give up. If you want to continue this conversation, feel free. I will check out after this video. If you want to continue to talk about Sebastian, I don't have any more new updates pertaining to him that I've already played. TBI has met with his parents. They have not said what they talked about. The father's not giving up hope on his family. On search for his son. He's still working with the Cajun Navy, but he wants everybody to get their egos in check. Either you're going to help or not help. If you're not going to help, keep it moving. Where is Sebastian Rogers? Will we ever get the truth to where this little boy is? Lord have mercy, what is going on? Next, Riley Strain, News Nation, everybody. Accidental death by drowning. 47% no, 29% not sure, 23% says yes. You are undecided on that accidental drowning.
One thing that threw the family for a loop was, the coroner going on record with a news person in Nashville stating about the lack of water in his lungs. It raises more questions. I'm not a crime drama person by no means, but usually water in the lungs means that, they were alive when they went into the water.
And that would be news. There's a family member of Riley Strain, a friend. The 22-year-old whose body was recovered in the Nashville River last Friday, he disappeared a couple of weeks before. An autopsy requested by the family found, as you heard, he had no water in his lungs. However, the first autopsy ruled out there was foul play. And there's new details that have emerged about this young man who left the Nashville bar.
Before we get into that, I want to bring a hypothesis pertaining to Riley Strain from somebody's comment in the chat. You know who you are. Could it be he got out of sight past the ping some kind of way, and he was walking around alive, got upset, ventured into the river on his own, jumped in the water and drowned? I don't know. Just asking questions. But then I have to say, well, then that means I'm disagreeing with the findings. Because if he jumped in the water, then that means there'll be water in his lungs. Could it be that something happened to him to where he was suffocated, to where there were no bruises or marks left on him during maybe a sexual assault? Or somebody came up behind him and put a bag over his face, took his wallet, pushed him into the river. Just two different scenarios. But could it be he was walking around for a while, hours, and made his way into the water, either by suffocation, passing out, heart attack, stroke, overdose? I don't know. Bad drugs and alcohol mixed together, but he still had to be near that damn water. That's where I have a problem. I can't put it together.
At 9:30 at night, never to be found again, alive. He was found without his pants, his boots, or his wallet. The 22-year-old had been missing for 2 weeks after a night out with friends. His body was discovered 8 miles away from where his phone last pinged, near the river in downtown Nashville. Brian Enton is here. Brian, good to see you. Incredible reporting on this. Look, you're the best crime reporter I know. You got your own TV show on the CW because of that. What about this case sticks out that all of a sudden the police keep saying nothing to see and you're hot on the trail?
Well, look, the family has been very persistent for quite some time that they don't necessarily think there was foul play. They're not coming out and saying we think he was murdered, but just that they want more investigation. They don't like the fact that Nashville police just sort of said it was an accident early on, case closed, essentially. And they have now learned that Riley's body, when it was found 2 weeks after he went missing in the river, about 8 miles down the river from where he went missing near downtown Nashville, that the body that was missing his jeans, he wasn't wearing his jeans, he wasn't wearing his size 15 cowboy boots, and his wallet was also missing, but he still had his shirt on and he still had his Apple Watch on. And that is something that has really, really perplexed them. They decided they wanted to have their own private autopsy. So, the county did an autopsy. Now they've paid for someone to do their own autopsy. They're waiting on the toxicology results, but they would like the Nashville Police Department to continue investigating, to go out, try to interview witnesses. There's a whole homeless group of people that live near the river because they are just perplexed why the jeans and the cowboy boots wouldn't have been on his body.
Yeah, and you look at the map in terms of the small map that goes through the time. 9:35, he was kicked out of Luke's 32nd Bridge, which is a bar, seen stumbling on Church Street and 3rd Avenue. Last phone ping 20 minutes later, and then he disappears. He was seen stumbling. People had said he was really drunk, on and on and on, yet he only had one drink at the bar. So, two options here. One, he'd been drinking somewhere else heavily, or something had been put in his drink, which then compounds the alcohol effect, and that's what happened. We've seen these cases before, right? A big cluster of them in Chicago, young men who look an awful lot like Riley Strain, who end up dead in the river because of a big night out. There was a cluster in Austin, Texas, as well. What is it about all of these cases that, even though there appears to be so many inconsistencies, why is it that police seem to be so uninterested, you think?
Yeah, and I mean, in those cases you talk about in Austin, Texas, and Chicago, where these bodies were found in water, rivers, and lakes, it's usually men. And look, again, I think police are trying. I think they believe it's an accident, but we've done so many stories where police will say something's an accident, and then an investigation gets reopened, and they realize, wait, maybe something else was going on here. And again, just the fact that he didn't have the boots, that he didn't have the pants. I talked to a medical examiner today. I talked to a death investigator. I mean, there are explanations. His body was probably at the bottom of the river. It went 8 miles. Is it possible that he got stuck up on some kind of debris that took off parts of his clothes? Maybe. But then there's other strange things. He wasn't. There were no puncture wounds. He wasn't stabbed. There were no signs of foul play. I'm also told that your body bloats, and it would make it more difficult for your clothes to come off. Again, another reason the family's saying, like, let's just take a step back. There were a lot of people out there. There were a lot of people down near the river. They need to continue interviewing people to figure out exactly what happened.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
Bloating, more difficult. What is the truth about the bloating and being under the water? Riley Strain. 3-part live tonight. Megan Boswell wants to change the venue, wanted her charges separate than her murder charge. Judge denied that. Going back to court in June. Sebastian still missing. Father needs help. Has Cajun Navy helping. Telling other people, if you can't get along, can't put your egos aside, he doesn't need your help. Exactly. And then Riley Strain. Found with just his shirt, watch, boxer shorts, and socks on. We now have that confirmed. Thank you all for taking the poll and following this live stream tonight. Got a lot of questions because I don't know what the hell's going on. Did the police medical examiner get this case wrong? 44% yes, 25% no, 31% not sure. Now, mind you, they have a second opinion pertaining to this death. I might come back on and talk about Puff Diddy because I definitely want to get that out of the way. So much to talk about with Sean Combs. Lord have mercy. I don't know if I got the strength. Bloating. Clothes will be hard to pull off. But he was underwater for almost 2 weeks. Basically, would have to be an expert to know about bloating in clothes underwater. I'm not. What is the truth? Could he have been suffocated? It's a quiet death, quick death, 3 to 4 minutes. As you heard Pat saying, when you're choking, it seems like forever. Exactly. So it'd be no different with it being suffocated. Suffocation probably feels like eternity because you're trying to get air. Could it be somebody came up behind him with a bag, suffocated him, he fell down, they stole his pants, boots, wallet, and then rolled him over the embankment? Make it make sense. Passed out, died from a heart attack, alcoholic poisoning, stroke, fell over the rail, fell over the embankment. Make it make sense. Or he went deliberately in the water. I don't know. Because now everything banks on, do you believe the autopsy reports? Because there are two now. Two different agencies, same findings. National Police no longer investigating this as an investigative case. Case closed. He will be buried tomorrow in Missouri. Taco says, in my opinion, cops don't have much interest in these cases because it's adults over drinking, making bad choices in Ellie's eye. Is that true? Well, let's take a poll. And then I'll check out of here. Woohoo. You all ain't saying much about Sebastian down there in the chat. Take the poll, everybody. Anything else you all want to say about Sebastian before I check out of here? Because I've been on now almost 2 hours. Let's see what you have to say about that poll. Only 2 votes? Come on, you guys. Did the police want to close the case because he was drinking, put out of the bar? Bad decision making. Poor decision making. Just some drunk kid that wandered into the river. Because you have to admit, no gunshots, no stabbing, no strangulation. What else could it be? But poor decision making, clumsiness, got sick, throwing up, fell over, not paying attention. Maybe he's an awkward type person, doesn't pay attention to his surroundings, his footing. Naturally, if you're drunk, you're not going to have the best footing. Yes, Pinto, I'm curious to see the toxicology reports as well. But I still got a feeling that even with the report, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter for National Police to open it up as foul play or homicide because you have to prove whatever's in his system. We already know he's going to have alcohol in the system, but if there are any other type of substances, somebody's going to have to prove he was drugged, drink-laced, video footage or confession from somebody saying, yeah, I put something in that guy's drink. I put something in that guy's food, whatever. You're going to have an admission or CCTV footage. Other than that, this case is over. Once again, did the police want this case closed because he was drinking, drunk, and had gotten put out of a bar? Quid pro quo. Get it over with. Out the way. Done. Finito. Autopsy back. Doesn't show nothing. Wasn't beat up, bruised, hit in the stomach, hit in the neck, hit in the head, contusion, concussion. What? And we didn't hear that either from the autopsy because naturally they cut your head open. I don't mean to be descriptive, but naturally they cut the skull open to make sure to see if you hit your head, any bleeding on the brain. We've heard none of that. We've heard none of that. No type of brain injury, outside or inside. So that means he had no markings, because eventually they would have shaved his head in places to check his hairline, inside his scalp, behind the neck, vertebrae, stomach, check all arteries from your arms down to your feet. Stay woke. And it was done 2 times. Will they get closure? That's the question. Even when the toxicology reports come back, because it takes a little while for those reports to come back, will his family be satisfied with the findings? That's what I want to know. 2 hours into this live stream, we've been talking about everything under the news. A Kentucky priest offers to fund Riley Strange's funeral. Very interesting. Let's hear what he has to say. Wow, more news. Somebody doesn't want me to get off this live stream. My goodness. Somebody is wanting the queen to stay on. My goodness gracious.
A missionary for Pope Francis is offering to pay all of Riley Strange's funeral costs. Thank you for joining us for News 2 at 4. I'm Mark Kelly. Earlier this month, a 22-year-old Mizzou student was visiting Nashville on that fraternity trip when he disappeared. After what was a 2-week search, his body was found in the Cumberland River last Friday. Well, tomorrow, friends and family will say a final goodbye to Riley in his hometown of Springfield, Missouri. News 2's Kendall Ashman has that story.
For weeks, Riley Strange's disappearance captured the attention of people across the country.
And our heart broke. Here was a young, vibrant individual. And we all felt, what can we do?
Father Jim Sitchko is based out of Lexington, Kentucky. He is one of 700 priests that were chosen to serve for the Papal Missionary of Mercy for Pope Francis.
I happen to be one who spends full-time ministry preaching and doing random acts of kindness and mercy throughout the world.
His acts of kindness include taking to social media, where he asked for help to connect with Riley Strange's family.
Social media can be both a strength and a weakness, and this is showing the strength.
Once social media connected him to Riley's family, Father Jim offered to pay all of Riley's funeral costs.
And that's exactly what I felt called to do. I just called to reach out and say, look, you don't know me, but this is the ministry to which I'm called. How can I help?
And as we approach Easter Sunday, he says this is the message he gave to Riley's family.
The crucifixion wasn't the end. There was resurrection. In other words, there is hope. And I tried to connect with them to say that even in this dark time, realize that there is hope somehow, that something from this will better society and better our world.
In Nashville, Kendall Ashman, News 2.
A visitation for Riley will be tomorrow afternoon in Springfield, Missouri. The burial will be held at a later time. Riley's father says they did request a second autopsy after that preliminary report showed no signs of foul play.
Well, that's why I kept trying to understand about this funeral business. I kept telling myself, well, if the funeral is Friday, then that means they'd have the body. Well, now you're hearing the burial is going to be at another time. So that would lead me to believe they don't really have the body yet, that the body is still being looked at. Well, but why? If both autopsies are saying the same thing, I'm confused now. Now I'm confused. Because I was debating on this yesterday and today, trying to get an understanding. So I don't really understand what the hell they're talking about. Is the body in Missouri or not? Because the weather is warmer, so it's not like the ground is hard for you to dig a hole for burial. So is the man's body still in Nashville, Tennessee? And why would it still be here in our area, West Tennessee, excuse me? I don't understand what's going on. Jesus Christ. Now, let's ask this last question. That's another thing I didn't hear. How long he had been decomposed. Didn't hear that either. A lot of stuff we're not hearing. Why not? Because people always ask that when a body floats up. Does it match the time of the disappearance? So if you're missing 2 weeks, it would have been 2 weeks that night if we believe he went in the water that night. What does decomposition say about Riley Strain? Nobody is talking. Let's take this next poll from one of the commenters' comments. See, you got to ask everything because you always forget something. Is his body synonymous with a 2-week floating in the water? Number one, he was submerged in the water under a barge and they moved something out of the way and saw his body, his head. I believe the guy said he moved a log. The log was on top of his head. So how long was he walking around? Did he actually go into the water where that credit card was found? Bank card, number one. Was he still walking around the city? But then you have to ask, how did that card get over there if he was still moving around past the bridges? But our understanding is that there were pings past the bridges. Remember the friend said the Snapchat chased him at 11 o'clock, tracked him at 11 o'clock? Well, allegedly, the phone quit pinging at 9:58. So this is when people would assume he fell in the water. So how can your phone ping an hour later? Was he still walking around? Turned the phone off. Didn't want nobody tracking him. Didn't want nobody calling him because he was in his feelings. He was mad. But then they're going to say, well, we don't have no footage of him walking past the bridge. The phone stopped at 9:58. I don't know what to say. I don't believe in all these conspiracies and shit, but this case is making my head hurt. Was he put in the water where it was found? 50% yes, 25% no, not sure. 25% take the polls. What say you, the chat? Now we have a priest that is offered to pay for the funeral. Shut your mouth. Lord have mercy. A lot of people still talking. Prayers to our friends in Baltimore, Maryland. 2 people have been taken out of the water via a truck. Got a lot of stuff going on. Woo, he's got 3,000 people watching. Shut your mouth. A lot of people still talking. Gonna bring you a Puff Diddy update. Maybe in a little while. I had to catch my breath. Migrants attacking officers at the border is a learned behavior. No shit. Well, you didn't want to put a border up. You had years to secure the borders. Don't get me started. Gray Hughes investigates. And we also have another young man missing, Caleb Harris. What is going on with Caleb? Very strange story coming out of Texas. Very strange. These missing young men. I do find it odd. Chicago, all this. Is this robbery, drugging and robbery, serial killer? What do we have here? Different places. Different places. Doubt it's the same person. Accidents. Do we have just a bunch of drunk men that like going to the water? Very bizarre. Let's go to the water. Okay. What do you do when you get drunk? Oh, I like to walk by the river and fall in. I like to walk by the lake, fall in, jump in. Makes no sense. 16 votes so far. Take the polls, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Vote XL. 3-part live Megan Boswell, Riley Strain, and Sebastian Rogers. Well, Pinto, that's why you got to be careful, because you don't know people. There's no such thing as loyalty out here. It's just the bottom line. You don't know people. People are hurt in a multitude of ways. People break in, robbery. They'll assault you on your job, assault you coming in and out of your house, going to your car, shopping, traveling, overseas, in the U.S., doesn't matter. The devil is everywhere. Well, the body's going to float, Foxfire. That happens because the water was high when he allegedly fell in the water or put in the water. However he got in there, the water was high. So the water, the currents obviously were deep, they said. So they're not shocked that he traveled 8 miles. And if you Google, bodies can travel, especially if the water was high. The water just happened to be low when people got to searching in that area and found that damn card. But what's bizarre about that, how did that card stay in that one place once the water went down? That's what's strange. A week later, the water goes down and the card is still in the same place? Come on now. Very, very strange. Wouldn't the card also float somewhere? No marks. Exactly. No stab wounds, no gunshots, no strangulation, no beating up the human body. So all you have is he passed out. He passed out or he died and somehow made it in the water, either from dry drowning, spasms of the throat, esophagus, I don't know, because that's a lot to digest. That's why the whole point is you got to be there, because we really don't know. Just guessing at this point. Anybody else want to take the poll before I end it? I'm just searching the queue. Let me see if I can find something on our little baby boy. A lot of nonsense going on. Everybody got something to say, do they not? YouTube videos go on and on and on. Nothing new. I showed you that. The father speaking 2 days ago. Different people still talking. Where are his parents? Mommy. Mrs. Proudfoot, calling Mrs. Proudfoot, where are you? Gotta start singing like our friend Adele. Hello? How are you? Calling Mrs. Proudfoot. Calling Mrs. Proudfoot. Calling Chris Foot, where are you? Why aren't you searching for your son, ma'am, sir? Think you hurt your son? Since you all like playing games. "39% of you believe he was put in the water where he was found. 30% not sure, 30% says no. Kind of neck to neck there. Mrs. Proudfoot, where are you? What are you gonna do with your kid, lady? Mrs. Proudfoot, you can't hide. Listen, you got some explaining to do. Come on, lady, what's up about this kid? Come on, let's chop it up. Where is this baby? How long are we gonna keep talking about Sebastian Rogers? Because this is getting daunting now. Real, all jokes aside, this is getting ridiculous. Where is this kid? Did he make it home from the outing? Because we don't have it verified that he went out. That's just Katie talking. And as they say, the police does not have to explain to you what they've gathered from CCTV footage out in the street phone pings. So did they actually take the child out? Was the father actually away that weekend, that Sunday? Will we find out? Chris was there all along. Ding, 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 ding. He was there. Let me role play with you all for just a second. I'm supposed to be getting off this live 30 minutes ago. Is everybody listening? Hope you are listening to this live stream. 120 in the room. Thank you for joining me. Let's role play. You see, one of the questions I always ask when it comes to murder, and it's not to say the child's been murdered, but let's just say he has been unalived. The one question I've always asked during my live streams is, how is it that everybody knows every damn thing about your business? Know when you come home, when you leave, when you cut the grass, who came over from Idaho, New York, Minnesota, but nobody sees a body when it's been murdered. Nobody sees the body being transported out of the house. Just bear with me now. So it's risky to transport a body wherever, but it is done. And it is done a lot. So I got to thinking yesterday about this scenario because nothing has been verified. Could it be that Katie went out for the day, whichever day it was, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, took Sebastian on a ride, a death ride, took him somewhere out in the middle of nowhere and unalived him. Now, naturally, suffocation would be the quieter death for a child, the easier death. Of course, children are beat, tortured all the time, but you need somewhere private to do that. And that usually happens inside of a home. So let's say she decided to take the child out on a ride, the death ride. And she took him out in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama. I'm going all neighboring states close to the state. And she took the child out and played a game. Walked out in the middle of a field, nobody around. Nobody saw her car turn off the road, dirt road, abandoned road. She took a child out in the middle of nowhere and she unalived him by some means and left him there. And then kindly got back into her vehicle and drove back to her house and began planning this ruse of a boy walking out of the house with no shoes and a flashlight. Checkmate. Because you see, it's always risky to transport a dead body. Because that's what you always hear. The body was found here. The body was found here. Now, people bury bodies when they're close to the victim, and they also do it when they're not close, such as sex workers and John's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife type scenarios. So that's what you got to ask yourself. If we believe this child is not alive, was he unalive in the house? Or was he taken out for a ride somewhere and murdered out in the elements and then dumped in that place where he was taken? Murdered in the great outdoors. It does happen. You see a lot of those type of crimes with people who don't like their friends and associates. Take them on a death ride. Hey, let's go fishing. Hey, let's go hunting. And then the person willingly is walking to his or her own death, not knowing that they're about to be betrayed in the most horrific way. Is that what happened to Sebastian Rogers? That the mother took him out on an outing and took him out in the middle of nowhere and unalived him and left him there. And that he's just somewhere out in the middle of Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, maybe Mississippi. Depends on, how far a person wants to drive. We've seen how crazy these parents are, girlfriend, boyfriends. They'll drive you across the states to dump your body. Or it's the other. Unalived at the house, carried into the garage where she keeps her truck, allegedly. Put the child inside of some type of bag, plastic, tote, and took him somewhere out into the night and dumped him somewhere, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, and we're just waiting for someone to find the remains. And that's what is so interesting about people who dump bodies. They're always thinking that the body won't be found because they took it somewhere far away than their location. And then poof, voila, somebody's out hunting. Somebody's out walking the dog. Somebody's out fishing. Somebody's just walking on their own property. It's how that white man found the little black baby in the suitcase in rural Indiana. Stupid mommy and her girlfriend took the baby and dumped the baby on somebody's private property. This is why we keep talking about people searching for Sebastian. You think it's just barren land, but people own the land. You don't know that. But most land out here is owned by somebody. Just because you don't see a house or a barn or a trailer on it doesn't mean somebody doesn't own it. So that's how the little boy in the suitcase was found. Mommy, her and the girlfriend dumped the baby stupidly. And one thing begot another. And now we have a mother arrested for the murder of her child, and the girlfriend is already serving a, I believe, 30-year sentence for conspiracy. Yes, possibly. Took him out to eat, got his belly full, misled the child, thinking he was about to have a great day, and then took him to his death. I won't doubt that's how it happened. Because we always like to focus on a person being unalived at the house, because that's just a more private place to kill a person, naturally. But who's to say it went that way? Our third option. They were together, mommy and stepdaddy and the child, and took him out and unalived him somewhere. Came back, daddy went his way, mommy played possum, started the roost. Or stepdaddy was home, option number 4. Unalived the child in the house, packed the child up, carried the child on his way going back to work somewhere in the great open. Tennessee, that would make more sense. He has to go to Memphis, drop the child off on his way to work somewhere in the great outdoors. Is Sebastian Rogers alive? If he is unalive, is he somewhere between Hendersonville, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee disposed? If so, where? If he was unalive in his home, who did it? The mother or the stepdad? Let's take a poll. $100 people in the room. Take the poll, please. Hello, Delaney. Katie unalived her son and discarded him on her own. No help from Chris Proudfoot. Take the poll. You all can't make up your minds. 18 votes so far. Take the poll. Got 115 in the room. Thank you for joining me. Did Katie unalive the boy child and discarded him without any help from her husband or anybody else? Now you all are unsure, 47%. Did Katie work alone? If the child is not alive, was he unalive by his mother and mother only? Oh Lord, tacos, basement, and underground tunnels. Why it's got to be all that? I'm sure they checked their house. Everybody done with the poll? Stephen Avery is trying to get DNA introduced to exonerate him. Many of you probably watched Making of a Murderer on Netflix. He has that same female lawyer that's been helping him the past couple of years. Is there DNA that can exonerate Stephen Avery? Do you believe Stephen Avery killed that young lady? I would like to chop that up at a later date. Also, the Menendez brothers, I want to go back and do some older crimes for my crime vault. Yes, what, Foxfire? We don't even have proof they went out to eat or did anything because the police aren't saying. They're not saying anything, which that's expected. For those coming into the chat, Riley Strain will be have a memorial service tomorrow, but the burial will be at a later date, which leads me to believe they don't have the body, which I'm utterly confused because it seems like everything pertaining to Riley Strain, nobody knows how to diplomatically speak about anything. And I'm not trying to be rude, but you all don't know how to talk to give the public factual information. Now you wait today to tell us he had on underwear and socks. Now you're telling us the day before the service, you're not burying him until later, which will lead us to believe you don't have the body. It's just bizarre. Too bizarre case for me. That's why I don't like when people speak and they don't speak shit verbatim. Because then people start wondering, is this some type of game? You don't have, everybody's not in cahoots on the information. Because I still don't understand why the parents were shocked that the information got out about him not having pants on. First thing I thought was, well, weren't you there when they pulled him out of the water? Didn't you go to the hospital to see he didn't have any pants on? None of this makes any sense to me. It's very weird. 25 votes. Who else wants to vote before I close the poll? What if he had a bathroom accident? What's your point? He got killed because he peed on himself? Got murdered because he made a bowel movement? Somebody said something about him wearing a diaper. I can't remember who said that. So what are you saying about Stephen Avery? He should try to get another trial? Is that what you're saying? We're discussing 4 cases, quite frankly. Megan Boswell, Riley Strain, Sebastian, and now Stephen Avery. We're all over the place, Yay Time. We're everywhere. This is a 3-subject live, but I brought up Stephen Avery because I want to do a video on him pertaining to him wanting to introduce DNA to exonerate him. Wow. You think he's innocent? What? Oh, shit. Let's clear this poll out. 100 people in the room and only 25 people take the poll. Come on, you guys. 56% of you are not sure that Katie killed the kid. 31% says yes, she did. 11% says no. They were framed. Now, damn, Taco, you done flipped all the way out. So what was her key doing in his room behind that bookcase? Just saying. Well, let's take a poll to see what everybody in the chat has to say about Stephen Avery. Damn. Shut your mouth. And I might as well put up one about the Menendez brothers, too. Shut your mouth. Menudo on ABC. I remember the Menudo brothers when I was a little girl. Now one of them says that the father sexually assaulted him. Do you believe that? I'll put that poll up too. Might as well look like I'm not going to ever get any rest tonight. Dang. Be a 4-hour live fooling with y'all. Is Stephen Avery innocent? Take the poll. Thank you, Gay Time. You're cool. Somebody told me they like when I talk about more than one topic. So it helps cut down my streaming time to put more than one topic in the live stream. Just chop up a few topics, even though sometimes when I do more than one topic, the live goes way, way too long. Like right now, I'm at 2 hours and 32 minutes. Nobody's really talking about Sebastian in the chat. Most of you all are talking about Riley Strain. Well, that's okay. We don't like speculation. We speculated. I don't mind people speculating, but when they put their stamp on it, that's when I have the problem. Because we already had that with Riley Strain about the shirt, the homeless man with the shirt allegedly, and now you find out he floated with the shirt on. This is why I never banked on the shirt, because you got to have proof. That was just he said, she said. Nobody had a damn receipt. Is Stephen Avery innocent? Take the poll. Please. Well, why would he kill the girl? She's just there to take pictures for a car, for the car magazine. How would he have killed her without Stephen Avery knowing? And she's there to see Stephen. Stay woke. %39 says yes, 28% no, 33% not sure. Who was a deviant? They all were deviants if you just want to go there, except for the one that was mentally challenged. Let's also ask that. If you believe the nephew, Brandon, is his name Brandon? If he killed or helped him kill that girl, hold her hostage, murder her, rape her. A lot of shit to go over. You think a limit? What are you talking about, Delaney? Are you all done with the Stephen Avery vote? Because nobody's voting. 106 in the room and ain't but 18 people voted. Come on, you guys. Stop this nonsense now. That's the next upcoming live stream. Puff Diddy, Menendez Brothers, Stephen Avery, Ruby Frankie. I just do not have enough time in the day to do all these lives. If everybody would sit their ass down and stop getting into trouble, I wouldn't have no content to make. Ding, ding, ding. But everybody likes making the news. Damn, you got that right. Say that. Yay time, what you got? As they say, shoot the shit. Tell me what you got. I do small time crimes. Those that don't make it to Dateline. Few cases I've talked about didn't really make national news. I got a story I want to bring from my crime vault. It's about social media, about going on live talking about people and then you end up dead. Girl out of, I believe it was Cincinnati or Indianapolis. She outed a man for being a homosexual. And then a day or two later, she was murdered driving her Camaro down a busy intersection. Who killed her? The guy who she outed on Facebook? Somebody else. Oh, honey, you need to go back in my library. I got 5,000 videos. I've been on this box a few years. I got all types of tales to tell. Some are true. Some never made the news. You know, I always like my hypotheticals. I might do a hypothetical later tonight. I think I will. Those are the ones I like the most. What would you do? Oh my God, Brooke too. Oh Lord, I can't believe I got fans in here that think he is innocent. Damn, damn, damn. What am I gonna do with these people in the chat? Anybody want to call the queen on IG before I check out of here? I've been trying to get off this live for an hour. Foxfire. Foxfire, now stop. Y'all are evil. She's still considered a cold case. The name is Brooklyn Farthing from Kentucky. Okay, I'll check it out. You all are bad, bad, bad. Bad, 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 bad girls. That's what you should be singing to Katie. Katie Proudfoot. Bad girl, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you, Katie? Bad girl, bad girl. I don't think you want to be locked up, Katie Proudfoot. It's not nice in jail. Unless you go to jail in a very, 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 very small rural area. You might get pizza on the weekend like Koiberger. Fucking witch. All right, going to end this Stephen Avery poll. Taking you all too long to vote. 40% is not sure. 29% yes, 29% no. Man, y'all don't know what y'all doing. Okay. All right. Who's next? Did Brandon help? We're going to ask two questions about Brandon because I can't put it both. I'm not going to do both at the same time. I'm going to do it individually. Did he help rape the woman? And then I'll ask, did he help kill her? Thank you all so much for taking the pause. We're all off topic. We are all off topic. Did Brandon help sexually assault the woman? Help Stephen Avery? The nephew's brother. Who's that, Brooke? Man, you all are wicked. What do you all do before y'all go to bed at night? Damn. Oh, Jesus, this live stream is... I'm starting to wonder about y'all in the chat. Say what? Did Brandon help sexually assault the lady? Take the poll. You all act like you're scared to take a poll. Nobody knows your answer if that's why you all are scared to take the poll. Or I just got a bunch of people trolling the chat. Take the poll, Jesus. What? Now, Bandit, what you coming here talking about? I'll take the scotch, but not the blunt. Look at tacos. They act like you can see their answers. That's what's so crazy. 100 people be in the room, 200 won't take the damn poll. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, Stephen Avery, Making of a Murderer on Netflix many years ago. He was accused of raping and killing a woman. Did Brandon, the nephew who was arrested with him and charged, did that nephew help rape that woman? They are paranoid, aren't they? Oh my God, they're going to see my vote. Trust me, I won't be showing up at your house with an iPhone filming you because of your vote, if that's what you're thinking. I'm sorry, I don't have any psychic powers. Damn. I'm scared to vote. They'll find out where I live. Maybe some other YouTuber might find out where you live, not the Queen. Come on, you guys, take the poll so I can take this one down and put the other one up. Well, since we're going into the belly of the beast, hold on. Wait a minute, move this over some. It's messing with my clicker. Can't get off this live. Can't get out of here. That's the devil. He likes when you're talking about this nonsense. Give him more. Give him more. So everybody can have damn nightmares. Nightmares, nightmares. I didn't even know he had sons. Where's the one from? All right. Giving you new information about Mr. Avery. That'll be one of the next upcoming live streams.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We have a first alert update for you. In a case we've been following now for almost 2 decades, the attorneys for convicted killer Stephen Avery filed a motion for new DNA testing earlier this month.
And now the state is responding to the motion, calling it invalid. Avery is serving a life sentence for the murder of Teresa Halbach, the 25-year-old last seen on Avery's property in Manitowoc County on October 31st of 2005. Emily Meyer spent the afternoon going over those court documents. She joins us live in the newsroom with more on what this means. Emily.
Yeah, Kemi and Bill, it's a simple response from the state. The special prosecutor in this case saying Avery's motion is improperly filed because the case currently sits in the Wisconsin Court of Appeals. The prosecutor says the circuit court has no jurisdiction over the case right now until the appeals court makes a decision. Therefore, he says the defense's motion is improperly filed. The defense argues they took every step necessary to get this motion in front of the circuit court judge. Kathleen Zellner, Stephen Avery's attorney, says she filed a temporary pause in the Court of Appeals last week to allow the circuit court judge to make a decision on the second motion for post-conviction scientific testing. In Zellner's response, she also walks through all of her other legal options.
Right there, Tacos. Brooke. That is the salvage yard belonging to his family. You can see they tried to cover up the truck. Blood right there in the vehicle where you put the key in ignition. You want me to believe the nephew did all of that? He did all of that. Hid the key in Stephen's house. Blood near the ignition. Fingerprints, I believe, on the front hatch or the back hatch of the truck. And also covered up the truck. Stay woke, everybody. Stay woke.
This motion in front of the Kathleen Zellner, Stephen Avery's attorney, says she filed a temporary pause in the Court of Appeals last week to allow the circuit court judge to make a decision on the second.
Right there. I'm supposed to believe that nephew did that. Hit that car all the way back on that salvage yard without being seen on a property that did not belong to him. Stay woke. Somebody tried to cover up that girl's SUV. It's obvious. Look at the wood, shards of wood, branches thrown on her car. That nephew did that by himself? Come on now.
Motion for post-conviction scientific testing. In Zellner's response, she also walks through all of her other legal options depending on the outcome of the ruling. Zellner essentially saying no matter how a judge decides, she plans on continuing to pursue this case. Bill.
I think y'all crazy. I do. Y'all down there thinking, talking about Steve Avery didn't do this. Hell wrong with y'all. Y'all know, I think he was groomed. I think he was pissed off because he went to prison for that one charge and he's never looked back. Oh, somebody's getting ready to talk about Stephen Avery. Crime in Court, whoever's channel that is. Okay. True Crime Daily explores evidence allegedly left out. I'm going to end this live because I'm almost at 3 hours. But that will be an upcoming live pertaining to Stephen Avery. I have one more question about Brandon. And then I'm out of here. I got to digest for just a second. Sit still. All right, one more question. The Queen's out of here. I'll come back in a little bit with another live. We're going to get a little saucy. Shut your mouth. I'm up now. I'm wired up. Let's see what I got. 52% of you not sure, 20% yes, 26% yes, 21% no. Did he help rape that lady? 26, that's a low count. Did he help kill her with Stephen Avery? Last question for this live stream. So what, Tacos? Possibility. Hadn't thought of that way yet. Thought of what, hon? Take the poll, everybody. Prayers for the Strain family. Prayers for Sebastian. Get justice, answers to the truth of where this child is. Cajun Navy helping the search with his father, helping search for the father. Few people did not turn out for whatever reason. Don't know if it's from all this he said, she said gossip circulating on YouTube. And I agree with the father. If you're not there to help, then keep it moving. Because this story is about a little boy. This is not about your ego. This is not about your YouTube channel, your views and likes and wanting to be seen. If you're not doing it for the right reason, your ass don't need to be there. And I said that before yesterday. That's why I made that video about Sebastian. This BS gossip is disgusting. It's no different than what you all did with the Summer Wells case. Same thing you motherfuckers did with the laundry case and Gabby Petito. You took it to a whole new level because you really don't care about these people. And like I told somebody, I don't care about somebody having a channel with a lot of views and likes and subscribers. That has nothing to do with their spirit. That has nothing to do with their heart. Because like the father said, you know, you coming out here with your cell phone filming, but damn, you know, hey, are you in it for the right reason? You know, he didn't say it like that, but that's what he means. Are you in it for the right reason? Well, I'll say it. No, they're not. Because it ain't nothing to argue over. It's not even your child. So what's the problem? And if the Cajun Navy, if they're not legit, as I said before at the beginning of this live stream, Mr. Seth will find that out on his own. That Stephen did that out of anger? Yes. That's what the guy who was locked up with him said. The guy who was locked up with him in prison, let me show you who he is. Hold on. Right here. That guy right there. He feels like he was groomed to kill that lady, Miss Halbach, because he was angry that he did so much time in prison for that attempted rape or rape of that first lady at the park. So he was bitter. He said he would talk crazy in jail. I've done a video on this a few months ago. Please go back to my library where I show you content of this man here talking about his time in prison with Stephen Avery. He feels like he was groomed. He was bitter. He was angry. So when he came out, he wanted revenge. He wanted a victim. But then my mind started thinking, well, damn, if you could kill this lady, Teresa Halbach, that's her name, did they get it wrong by setting him free? And he did hurt that first lady at the park. I don't know. He's violent. We know this because the charges with that charge of him chasing the niece or cousin or somebody down with a car, threatening her, trying to run her over or something. So he had anger issues before he even got the charge of the rape, attempted rape. Did Brendan help kill the lady? Teresa Halbach, take the vote, take the vote, take it, take it, take it. Yes, please check out my content. I have a lot of videos on all types of true crime, hypothetical situations, dating. I talk about dating. I talk about all kinds of things. R. Kelly, T.I. I'm all over the place. I do not just talk about true crime because I'm about to give her a break or give him a break. Soon as I do this last video, in this Riley Strain nonsense, I'll have Megan, I'll have Sebastian, I'll have the kids out of Texas that found their brother dead, that were living in the house with their dead brother. I've got that case still on the books. I've also got Quentin Simon. I've also got the little boy, the Cash Gurney story. But I want to give this a break. These kid stories a break. Thank you, sweetheart. Zelda would put her career on the line if she thought Avery was guilty. You said, I don't think Zelda would put her career on the line. Well, Pinto, let's be truthful. She's a defense attorney. So you're gambling every time you go into court and defend a criminal or someone suspected of killing or hurting somebody, defrauding somebody, especially if they already have a criminal record for doing said things. Common sense will tell you they have the propensity to do it again. But that's your job. That's the field you've chosen. But the thing that bothers me about defense attorneys, they always side with even other people. They've never even defended. And they get on TV and they speak because they're speaking on behalf of representing criminals. And to me, that's a very dangerous slope, slippery slope, because you will start acting and talking like you're a damn criminal. I've heard a lot of lawyers talk, and I'm starting to wonder about some of them. Seems like they're just a little bit too invested. I'm just saying. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, everybody, take this last poll. Did Brendan help kill Teresa Halbach with Mr. Avery? That is the man that was locked up with Stephen years ago. I have done a video on him last year, if you are interested. If you have a hot topic you want to talk about tonight, when the kiddies are in the bed, which they should be in the bed right now. It's 10 o'clock here, East Tennessee. Let the queen get her a little liquid courage and we can go at it. We can talk about sex in America, sex expectations. I might talk about Puff Diddy without playing all the audio, because there's something I want to talk about pertaining to Puff Diddy that's real raunchy, but it's facts. The one thing you're not hearing from anybody that's talking about the raid, the white boy that got arrested, the mule, all these different people who knew him that are coming out speaking and talking about the wild parties. The one thing nobody's talking about is the fact that some of these folks and his nasty ass probably got HIV. How about that? I bet you I get a live audience tonight on that. How about that? I bet you I'll have more than 98 in the room. I think I will. Well, Bandit, I have talked about down low men. That could be a part of the subject matter. Okay, get back to work. Okay. Come on, people. Did Brandon help unalive Teresa Halbach with Stephen Avery? Take the poll. I will go fix me something to drink, take a restroom break, and come back on in about 15 minutes. We're going to talk about the belly of the beast, because that's something a lot of people didn't talk about with R. Kelly. Did it ever dawn on any of you that the man is walking around with a deadly disease, not just herpes, but HIV, AIDS? Now, we're talking about Puff Diddy, Puff Daddy, Love. Is he also tainted? Stay woke. I'm going to go on in this poll because y'all ain't voting. See, the thing that's weird about Puff Daddy and R. Kelly, everybody's got a story to tell about dealing with them, but they wouldn't come out. 53% of you said he did not kill her. 38% not sure. 7% said yes. Okay, that's cool. The thing about R. Kelly, Puff Daddy, and probably some other men, they were baiting people to act upon homosexuality, but they don't have the guts to come out as a bisexual, homosexual man. And that's what's bothersome. It's because people will respect you more if you just tell the truth of who you are. Now, we know that people will experiment. They may not like it, so they're not going to tell people, oh, yeah, I slept with a man, I'm a man, or I'm a woman and I slept with a woman. Maybe they don't want people to know. And if they're not engaging in it, then that's their right to hold that little tidbit of a secret. But when you know that you are out here baiting people to act on homosexual activity, you're already telling a multitude of people that you like a man. So that's what I don't get. Why not just come on out and just say, I'm bisexual. I like men, I like women. What's the fucking secret? That's what I can't understand about this mess with Puff Diddy. It's just like R. Kelly. People already got the goods and got the story. So why are you still walking around acting like you just like women when you know you like men too? And I don't care what nobody says. I believe the deviant behavior weighs heavier. That you probably like men more than women. Now, I said that. Now, somebody might disagree and say, well, Queen, I like them both. I like a man, I like a woman. Remember that guy that came on the Oprah Winfrey Show many years ago? He's the one that wrote that book about being on the down low. Oh, my Lord, that book was good as hell. He liked both. But I honestly think he liked men more. And I'm telling you, that book was wrong. And I cannot imagine dating some man thinking he loves me, cares for me. And then I later found out the whole time I've been with him, he's been sleeping with a whole damn man or other men. And then ain't using no damn condom. Because that guy was rough. And you know, you're a nasty MF. You'll bring a man in your bed. It's wrong to bring a woman in your bed and you got a woman. And y'all live in the same house. But a whole man. And then I catch you. Oh, my goodness. What they say is going to be some furniture moving around up in China. God help us all. God help us all. Or better, God help you. I'm going to need a lawyer. I'm going to need a lawyer. And you going to need salvation. Take your damn pick. Oh, shucks. 3 hours in, everybody. I got to check out of here. I want to thank you all so much for following this network. Welcome all new viewers, guests, subs. Thank you for subscribing. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below this video. 3-part topic that went into about 5, 6 topics. I'll be back shortly with the hot topic of the hour. We're going to chop it up as grown folks. Put your kiddies to bed. Shut their door because it's going to be grown folks hour. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $sign Beganji 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Megan Boswell was the topic. Sebastian Rogers and Riley Strain. Riley Strain's services will be tomorrow, but he will be buried at a later date. Megan Boswell went to court today, and she has another court appearance in June to decide if a jury will be picked from another jurisdiction. And also, she asked on behalf from the lawyer, asked the lawyer to ask the judge if her other charges could be separate than the murder charge of her baby daughter, Evelyn. Such a beautiful baby. No longer here. And then Riley Strain. A priest has offered to pay for his services from Kentucky, a priest from Kentucky. And once again, the services will be tomorrow. And there's still questions about him not having pants, wallet, boots on in the water. So I chopped up every possible scenario during this live stream of what could have possibly happened. Drowned, partially drowned, spasms in the esophagus, dry drowning. Did he actually die? Where the credit card was found, bank card? Or was he put in the water or went in the water farther up, such as where he was actually found under the barge? Did he float there or was he put in the water near there? So many questions. But so far, National Police is no longer investigating the case. 2 autopsies have been performed by a private entity on behalf of the family and also the National Police Department. It's a wrap. You're welcome, sweetheart. Oh, Foxfire. Please stop. Well, call me. All you have to do is call me on IG because I'll be going live here shortly. So let me get my bearings and I'll be back. Thank you so much, everybody. You've been listening to The Vault XL.